Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this Monday's edition of National Matters. I'm your pastor, Pastor Chiluba, and my guest in the studio is not a new person in this nation, but it's his first time to appear on Camnet TV. President SAVIOUR CHISHIMBA of the United Progressive Party. Am I right?
People.
People.
Right, thank you.
Say it
UPP.
right again.
United Progressive People.
Oh, okay.
UPP.
Oh, UPP.
Thank you.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Pastor. Good evening, viewers.
Good evening. Camnet TV is a family TV. When I say family TV, it's not just my wife and I. It's the viewership around the world and, of course, in this nation who are part of this great station. Now, we know you as President SAVIOUR CHISHIMBA, and we know you as president of a political party, but who is Mr. CHISHIMBA? We would like to know you from a personal point of view before we become political.
Thank you so much. My name is SAVIOUR CHISHIMBA. I come from the royal family. My mother is a Royal Highness Chieftainess Mumbimukulu of the Bemba-speaking people. She's one of the three Queen Mothers. And I've started with my mother because we, the Bemba-speaking people, are like the Jews, where we start with the mothers because they want to give birth to kings, you know, so to speak. My mother herself is daughter of Teresa Chitimukulu, herself daughter of Chitimukulu Kanyantamanga I, one of the greatest of Chitimukulus, who took over the throne from Moto, the priest, the white father, the white archbishop who was the first one to come to Northern Province to introduce Catholicism in Zambia. On my father's side, my mother is Emmanuel Mutale Chimba, and his father is Belenava Mkuka, who himself is a descendant of Mutale Mukulu, Ifumusha Pakatumba. So, and then on my father's side, in fact, I established that my paternal grandmother is Mamajura Chikamuneka, who is renowned to have protested against Ian MacLeod to demand for freedom in Zambia. She stripped half naked to show that what the colonial masters were doing was worse than actually exposing the nakedness of the people of Northern Rhodesia or Zambia, as we are called today. So that's on my father's side and my mother's side. I'm a father of 2 boys, 2 girls. And in terms of background, I'm a public health practitioner. But then I'm also a business administrator because I've done business studies up to MBA level. I've also done economics, actually. It is no wonder I'm able to talk about economic matters with confidence. Yes, so in a nutshell, that's about me. Thank you.
You have left one important aspect, President, ending up in that manner. Now I'm left wondering whether you are a single person or you are married, or I should start marketing. And, yes, please.
You know, I'm a Jew. So I talk about, when you are a Jew, there's what is called going under the chuppah. Yeah, under the chuppah. Yes, thank you. Yes, so it's called going under the chuppah.
Yeah, but
so under the chuppah, what simply means is that from the biblical perspective, that is from the Torah perspective, you have to take someone under the chuppah. So I'm going to take somebody under the chuppah.
You are confusing me.
Yes. I'll explain more as we go on.
Let's come down to where I can understand. Are you married or not?
I am, legally.
You are married?
Yeah, legally.
And you've got how many children?
That's 2 boys, 2 girls.
2 boys?
2 girls, yes.
And 2 girls?
2 girls,
And
yes.
you are still together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
No, that is without going Jewish way.
Yes.
I needed to know that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
President Chimba, I guess tonight when I asked you, can I send you the questions that I want to ask, you said no, bring them as they are, and you are like me, I failed to answer prepared the questions.
Correct.
I like them flowing as they come. And let's get into today's national matters.
Thank you.
Who is the founder of your party?
I'm the founder of UPP with other colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it was actually started in Ndola. By then I was living in Ndola.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to rekindle the spirit of the founding fathers and mothers,
mm-hmm.
who put national interest first.
Mm-hmm.
We realized that Zambia has not been able to get back to the roots after, of course, the ousting of the UNIP government from power.
Mm.
Our nationalism has been lost.
Mm.
We have seen a tendency where national interests are like a second.
Mm.
It's personal interests, business interests of a few that appear to be the essence or to be the driving force of the national agenda.
Mm.
So as UPP, our focus is on putting Zambia first.
Mm.
To go back to the thinking of the men and women who rose from the four corners of Zambia to bet Zambia in liberty.
Mm.
Those men and women woke up every morning to go and face the brutal federal police force to take the bullets. Because they knew that when freedom is taken away, you are not different from someone who is dead.
Mm.
Just like it is said among the Jewish people, that a Jew or a person who does not have means is not different from someone who is dead.
Mm.
What does this mean? You see, when we're talking about means, we are talking about you yourself as a resource, number one. Number two, we are talking about the everyday air that we breathe, which comes from the Almighty, and every resource available. Are you able to use those resources in order to serve the Almighty, the owner of the universe? So those men and women knew that as long as freedom was not granted to them, they were like those who are dead. So the colonial masters, with the weaponry that they had, they thought we were killing them. But those people died before they started the struggle. And they birthed for us this Zambia. So it's unthinkable that after more than 50 years of independence, this country and our people are still facing difficulties. The hope of those men and women was that a culture of self-service was going to be replaced with a culture of serving others, selflessness. The Catholic bishops wrote a pastoral letter on the eve of independence in 1964, 23rd October, the day before we gained independence on 24th of October. In their letter they said, when the children of Israel were promised the promised land, flowing with milk and honey, the Almighty expected them to go and work. It didn't mean that this milk and honey would flow from heaven. They worked for that milk and honey. So they said, we are urging those who serve in the government to put national interests first, to commit to sacrifice their resources and their time to build a new republic, Zambia, as would be called the following day. That's what they said. True to their words. Today, the people of Zambia have seen a culture where people want to ascend to power to serve personal interest. Where is our nationalism? Why are we not putting the national interest first?
Before we go to that, President Chishimba, I want you to help me understand who is a pioneer of your party.
What I want to say is, when I'm talking about a pioneer, we are fully embedded in what Simon Mwansaka stood for. Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe was the one who came up with the name Zambia. Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe was a visionary. When Mr. Mwangankumbula, who led ANC in 1958, asked for time, that let's give colonial masters time. When the colonial masters appointed the Benson Commission to review the Constitution, the federal Constitution, Kapwepwe told Mr. Nkumbula, he said, old man, I don't see this country gaining independence under you. We can't give colonial masters chance because they want to entrench the federation. And as long as Zambia was part of the federation, this country wasn't going to get independent. And he was speaking in the spirit of Mr. Donald Siwale, who was the founder of the first ever African Welfare Association in Mwenzo, Nakonde district. And Amwanga founded that association and began to spread across Zambia until it became in 1946 the Federation of Rhodesia, the Federation of African Welfare Societies, headed by Mr. David Yamba. Then eventually it became ANC, headed by Mr. Edmond Nkumbula. So he said, we cannot allow this country to be part of the federation. So I resigned. He quit as national treasurer. And he was only 26 years at that time. Mr. Kapwepwe, Samuel Mwansa Kapwepwe. And Kenneth Kaunda was 24 years. He was Secretary General of the same ANC. So he quit. And the other 20 young people also followed him. A week later, they met at what is called the Rock of Authority, Mulungushi Rock of Authority in Kabwe. It was a bush. 66 young people. So they said, we have to form a new movement apart from the ANC, because ANC is giving colonial masters chance. We can't give them chance. We must have independence. Independence means self-determination. We must be in charge of the affairs of our country. So from there he said, in South Africa, the movement for the struggle to end apartheid is called ANC. In Ghana it's called ANC. So we too must maintain the name ANC. Now to make it different from Nkumbula's ANC, we must add Zambia after the Zambezi River. And everybody clapped. And they took a rock. I mean, they sat on a big rock. They broke part of the rock, and they said, go and throw it at the source of the Zambezi River in Northwestern Province. The country will be called Zambia, and our party is Zambia African National Congress. So he gave Zambia a name.
Why I'm asking,
yes,
President, thank you for that historical narration of where we are. At the back of my mind, when I say who is the founder or the pioneer of your party,
yes,
there is a phenomena that I'm seeing in Zambia, which is, whether it's coming from selfish motives or whatever, I will bring it out. President CHISHIMBA began a party, and he was kicked out on the party that he found himself. Harry Kalaba began a party, and he's been kicked out, or is being kicked out. Now, I am asking this because, you see, my wife and I are pioneers of this ministry.
Yes.
We may appoint deacons, we may appoint leaders and whatever, but the vision to take this ministry from A, B, C, D, it's with my wife and I. So you coming as an elder to dislodge me,
yes,
and say, Pastor Chiluba, you are not running cabinet the way it's supposed to be done professionally, you may be stuck at the end of the day. The question is, are you a founder or a member or a visionary of this party, or you are a group of you, each one with little visions and trying to build the...
It's each one with little visions, and then together we founded the UPP. Now, I'm happy I brought in that question, because what normally happens is that here's someone who is serving as a cabinet minister, and then this person sees that the situation is not favoring him internally, and then probably someone gets others to register a party, and maybe his name is not there. So you see those challenges, because in the eyes of the law, it's the people whose names are appearing who we say. So that's what I would say in terms of these challenges that we see. But in terms of the original vision of the UPP, I mentioned Mr. Samuel Mwansa Kapwepwe, because when Mr. Kapwepwe resigned from UNIP, he warned this country. First of all, Mr. Kapwepwe challenged President Kaunda. He said, we need to give the people the freedom to be entrepreneurs. The state can't control everything. we need to promote local enterprises. That when we promote the entrepreneurial spirit, this soil we're seeing can be sold as a commodity. Water can be sold. The grass, it can be sold. The youth wing of UNIP, led by somebody who is in the ruling party now as an advisor, protested. They went to State House to meet President Kaunda. And they said, this man has gone mad. How can soil be sold? How can water be sold? How can grass be sold? And that song, Tiende Pamozi, was altered. He started singing, Atiende Pamozi ndimtima umo, Tiende Pamozi ndimtima umo, Titenge kapwepwe kucha inama, Titenge kapwepwe tucha inama. Kapwepwe napen. Pastor, today, water is a commodity for sale. Grass, you go to lodges, it's a commodity for sale. Soil, black soil is being sold. At that time, it was imaginable, it was unimaginable, beyond imagination, that soil could be sold. Then after that, when the UNIP government appointed the Chuna Commission to amend Schedule 2 of the Order in Council, which is a product of the Zambia Independence Act, itself a product of the Zambia Independence Act, Section 5 of the laws of England, which is not a constitution, because Zambia right now is being governed by foreign law. Zambia has no constitution, Pastor. Her Majesty the Queen issued what are called royal instructions in pursuance of the Order in Council. Now the powers to issue orders in council came from Schedule 2 of the Zambia Independence Act of 1964, Section 65 of the laws of England. So it came as a schedule drafted by the House of Commons. So in 1971-72, when the Chuna Commission was appointed, it was appointed to amend the same schedule. So it had to be amended in order to outlaw political competition. So all parties, ANC, UPP, which was funded by Kapwepwe, they were banned. Now, Mr. Samuel Masaka Pwepo, later on, after it became the only political party, in 1979, when there was a convention, the Olympic Convention, and Mr. Nkumbla, they had to rejoin to go and challenge Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. It was that period that hooliganism came in the politics of this country. Today, that vision of men and women in the caliber of Samuel Masaka Pwepo, Adimwanga Nkumbla, Munukambis among many others, what they stood for today is bearing us witness to us. Because they want that colonial masters have gone, but we see them come through trade. And it's our own people who are going to be used as instruments, as agents of the same colonial masters. This is where we are today, Pastor.
I remember the famous and timely warning by Mr. Kapwepe was, these colonial masters you have chased, be careful. They will come back as investors. And they said that in 1965.
Correct.
What a vision.
Correct.
But still, I want us to come back because, President, look at this. I don't know why many years ago you used to laugh at us and say, why are there so many churches? Why can't you just come together? Pastor Chiluba has got a church. Bishop Mambo has got a church. This one has got a church. Okay, that's a church. And our differences are not doctrinal. Okay? But you now, in the previous elections, we had 16. Am I right?
Yes.
About 16,
about 16 years.
Political parties.
Yes.
2026, maybe they may be 65. Where to choose the president from, if not 165? Where are we going to? Are all these people visionaries?
First of all, I want to begin by saying that democracy, I think, is about expressing our views in whichever way that we feel, and also, fully participating in the elections of the country. But I want to believe that it's also important to judge, to assess. You look at the situation in the country, whether it's worthy to participate or not. What do I mean by this? When you look at the trends in the politics of Zambia by 2020, it was clear that the people of Zambia decided it was either the PF or the UPND. And with the APP issued a statement, we said changing the PF, replacing the PF with UPND was not change. And we warned the Zambians that things are going to be worse.
This is what you said?
This is what we said. Things would be worse. When I resigned as Member of Parliament in 2009, there was what was called the UPND.
You were the first MP for
PFMP for Kasama Central. PFMP.
For Kasama Central, yes.
By then, we had the UPND PF Pact. So it was one party. PF UPND Pact. So it was called. At the news conference, I said the UPND and the PF Pact, these two, they don't represent the change which is about the people of Zambia. And Pastor, I resigned as MP 3 weeks before huge amounts were paid in gratuities to members of parliament. I said, why are we increasing our pay and getting gratuities when Zambia was going through what was called the epic completion point, during which there was a wage freeze. Wage freeze for civil servants, men and women in uniform, defense and security. For politicians, there's no wage freeze. I said, these are double standards. What kind of country are we building? It's unacceptable. And I want that the division that we saw under the MMD was going to be worse should the NDPF Pact rise to power. Because these do not represent our nationalism. It's about private interests. And I also recall in the same period, President Mwanawasa rose to power. He did constitute what was called the task force on the fight against corruption. He went to parliament and he presented 102 allegations on President Chiluba that he was involved in arms deals, Katebe Katoto, all allegations. The Air Force, procurement of aircrafts. And this immunity was removed, that of President Chiluba. It was removed. Now, if you recall, Pastor, when the Zamtropo account was presented before Parliament as evidence, as the basis to remove Chiluba's immunity, names included Von Nimwanga, $300,000, David Tiangamo. What I'm talking about are facts, and you can go to Parliament in the answer and you find these details I'm talking about. When President Chiluba was indicted to appear before a magistrate court, not a single offense of these ones I'm talking about, serious allegations, was indicted over before the magistrate court. Instead, they said he stole a TV from State House and he gave it to his girlfriend, Regina Mwanza. A TV. And then they tried to paint this picture among the uninformed, sometimes citizens who don't read much, that look at the shoes of Chiluba. And these things were in the newspapers and on TV, post newspaper, all this. Now, the question that I put as a parliamentarian then was, if this fight against corruption is genuine, why have you left the others? One of them, David Yangam, was PS at Finance. He was named in the Zampro. Why has he been promoted to be now Secretary to Cabinet, Deputy Secretary to Cabinet? One of them is also a minister among several others on the list. They only pick Chiluba, you pick Kalumba. I said, this is not prosecution, it's persecution. The PF rose to power. And first of all, when President Monasa died, what I said came to pass. I said, this kind of what you are going to fight against corruption is to go with Mwanawasa. Another one will begin his own. Because in Zambia, the fight against corruption is politics. It's about painting a picture among the people of Zambia that you are fighting corruption when in reality you are not fighting corruption. You can't fight corruption when you have State House directing you to investigate. And you target like business people, those who think that they are in good standing. Of course, they are good businesses, they are big businesses. Now, because you want to remove them from contracts that are lucrative and to put your own team, then you target them. Right now, we have a scandal where it's only businessmen and women, credible businessmen and women, men and women who have built enterprises credibly, and they can explain how they have accumulated their wealth. Today, they are the center of the focus by the SEC, because SEC is under the purview of State House. Drug Enforcement Commission under State House. Zambia Intelligence, the Financial Intelligence Center is under State House. And everything is being determined
Is the
from
Financial Intelligence Center under State House?
all of them under the people of State House.
Since
now,
when?
Since, in fact, it has been implemented by the current regime. But the argument they are giving is, no, the Gazette was signed in 2016 by President Edgar Chagwa. All the current administration has done, the new Dawn administration, which to us is the new stealth administration, is to move the DEC to put it under State House as well. Now, if the placement of SCC, Financial Intelligence Center, and other investigative wings under State House was a bad thing, why therefore take another agency, and in this case the Drug Enforcement Commission, and place it under the purview of State House? Is this the Zambia we want? Now, Pastor, the question is this. Anyone who becomes president is not God. It's not the Alpha and Omega. There's only one God above. The one who brought you and I here, creator of this universe. So the president does not become sacrosanct. The president of any country is not a sacred being. He is fallible, can make mistakes. The president of any country is subject to investigations by these agencies. Look at South Africa. President Zuma was placed under investigations. Prime Minister Netanyahu, then, who is now former, was placed under investigations. This is a serving prime minister. Because these agencies are not under the purview of the prime minister or the president. They are independent. So they can investigate whoever is at law. So what you are saying is, when you are talking about the fight against corruption, we need to understand the system. And we need to address, we are talking about fix the system. The Hebrew word for that is tikkun. Tikkun means fixing. Every Jew wakes up every morning to what is called tikkun et ha'olam, fixing our world. Now, how do you fix the system? When you understand, Pastor, the procurement system in this country, number one, line ministries are given the seeding by the Minister of Finance. They will say, come up with a budget up to $1 billion, up to 1 billion kwacha in the following financial year. So they will sit down and they'll budget, and it will go to Minister of Finance. The Minister of Finance will aggregate the totals, then they'll go to Cabinet. Then Cabinet approves the budget, then the Minister of Finance will go to the House, to Parliament, to go and present the national budget. After that, the House approves the budget, the President signs the appropriation bill, which becomes an act of Parliament, and then when the financial year starts, resources are allocated to ministries. So meaning, when the minister has a budget, let's say 1 billion kwacha, and they stated what they would procure, they want ambulances, they want to build the houses for the police, for the Zambia army, depending on which ministry it is. It's something which has been appropriated by the budget. And the president has signed the appropriation bill, which becomes law. So, now, before procurement is done, tender committees, they will come up with the tender documents, the bidding documents. They will specify the technical aspects of the bid, the specifications, the financial aspects. Then, depending on the amount, they'll go to the Zambia Public Procurement Authority to seek authority, whether it be an open tender or a closed tender, whatever it is. All these things will be approved. So when you go to the ZPPA, it's the Zambia Public Procurement Authority, the president appoints members there, and there are also ministers who sit on the board of that ZPPA. Then from there, then they'll float the tender. And then businesses, they will bid. Then the best bidder would be picked. Then the pricing would be done. So if you are talking about inflating contract prices or this, the corruption and so forth, you cannot go and start with a businessman. This is wrong. And this country must stand up and say, stop this tendency. Now, these ones, the current administration, they are starting with businessmen because their target is to replace those businesses with their own. This is wrong. Is it a crime? Is it a case to be a businessman in Zambia? These are questions that we must be asking. Pastor, it took 5 Americans to build America. Five American businessmen to build America. Henry Ford, Carnegie, J.P. Morgan. These are the people, 5 of them, who built America. The government of America did not engage in economic diplomacy. The president of America did not start going around the nations that, no, we are doing diplomacy to build America. No. The president of America built these he protected these businesses. They came up with laws, like intellectual property right. Let's protect these businesses. They grew the economy, they created jobs, and therefore, Pastor, the point I'm driving is this. Let us not reduce the fight against corruption to fixing or to settling scores. It is wrong. The fight, if this fight against corruption must be genuine, we must go to 1991 to date. And there shouldn't be any sacred cows. You can't say, for instance, you
go back to 91.
91.
And start coming up.
Why am I saying 91? President Kenneth Kaunda warned the country in 1990, after allowing that we go back to material democracy. And he cut short his tenure. He had 5 years to go, but he loved Zambia. There was pressure. He started campaigning as well. He said, you see, the problem I have right now is that this MMD is a collection of mafias. I know these young men. Kaunda told us. Ati fonka mumenso, afonka mumenso. Kaunda aseka. And I was a young man by then. Aska Kaunda. And afonka mumenso, mukafonka pamala. That's what he said. Inna afonka mumenso, imo mukafonka pamala. So now look, I'll give an example, Pastor. When Anglo-American was leaving Zambia, when MMD took over the reins of power, they were about to leave Zambia. They left $1 billion for corporate social responsibility in the mining sector. Why didn't this $1 billion go to ZCCMYH? Instead, it went to Zambia Copper Investments. And we know the people, the names who are in this Zambia Copper Investments, who are effectively part of the current administration and have prominent roles. Where did $1 billion go? It became a private fund of individuals, of mafias, in auditing firms, the private sector. And these are mafias. How did these mafias operate in this country? They went to parliament. They were saying, no, we are going to privatize. We shut down Zambia. We shut down all these mining corporations. We are privatizing. What happened was not privatization. What happened was asset stripping. When I became a member of parliament, I was a member of the budget committee, which provides oversight over the entire budget. So I understand the international budget, how it works. My first task was to investigate, to study. I took all the yellow books from 1964 to 2009, where I resigned as MP. I was trying to see where mining companies were running at a loss and to see the allocation from the national budget to mining companies. There is 0. So what was the basis for shutting down all this? Zambia was under everything. Where did the aeroplanes go? When all these companies that Memako and others were being shut down, Zambia had copper, because Zambia was selling copper directly on London Metal Exchange. Where did that copper go? So these mafias, I would call them boys of international mafias, international institutions. Where did they take our national assets? How many people died during what was called the IMF program by then? And today, we gladly go back to the IMF. And we have a government that is saying, no, we are fighting against corruption, and at the same time, we want to make sure that we stabilize the economy. Therefore, we are removing subsidies on fuel. We're also going to increase the electricity tariffs. Pastor, the question is, you are saying you are putting Zambia first. Why are you promoting the interests of multinational mining companies? You remove those royalties, give them, in terms of mine royalties, you give them some kind of holiday, and the state loses $3.2 billion. That's how much Zambia will lose in 2022. $3.2 billion. You
in
give
2022?
You give mining companies a kind of taxation where you say, no, you can keep the $3.2 billion. And then the same government shamelessly goes to the people and they say, we are removing subsidies because this country is spending 27 million kwacha in subsidies on fuel per month. Pastor, $3.2 billion you divide by 12. That is $207 million per month. Now, what is $27 million? Why should mining companies get away with it? Kapepo wonders that these people come from abroad. They don't come for the love of the people. They come for the love of the copper, the water resources that we have, the arable land, the emeralds, the gold that we have. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, they are stripping the smelter on the copper belt. They are dismantling everything, and they are taking everything, all the metals as scrap metal, to go out of Zambia. Copper is leaving Zambia's copper ores. Now, 10% of copper is gold. Now, that 10% of gold is a lot of money. But we are saying, let them take the copper ores. The people of Zambia, we shall just be saying, no, we shall remove Lungu's immunity, or we shall fight corruption as long as we pick 2-3 business people, instead of promoting national interests. Because diplomacy must start with insala nindi minwa tempulilwa. Insala nindi minwa tempulilwa. If there is a hunger in a home, take an axe, begin to cultivate. Don't go to the neighbor. I'm doing diplomacy. To neighbor. I'm doing diplomacy. What kind of diplomacy is that? Economic diplomacy. What diplomacy? Begin to cultivate now, protect national interests, put Zambia first. And you know what, Pastor? Time has also come in this country that when you become president, or you become a minister, you must declare your interests. If you run a company, there must be a law that lets someone else run that company and not you. Because it's wrong, Pastor. From your business interests, you appoint people who represent you on some boards to begin to serve in government, and then you go overseas, you are with them, you meet your friends, some of them that you know already as business people. Now I'm promoting Zambia. After you meet them, in official capacity, these people, your boys, they go and meet those people. Then they say, no. If it's the energy sector, making of these ZESCO meters, we shall replace company A, Zambian company, we shall put you, you come, we use the fight against corruption. And then we'll kick this one out of this business. And then we'll bring you here. We shall remove the immunity of Lungu, then we shall be fighting against corruption. This country's problem number one is not Edgar Chagwa Lungu. I warned them that we are targeting Chiluba and Manawas. Chiluba is not the biggest problem that this country is facing. Zambia has unemployment. Young people are looking for jobs. Look at those marketeers who wake up every morning from Tendere, from Kabwata, to care, to fend for orphans. What are you doing for them? They are selling tomato. If tomato is not sold 2-3 days, it goes to waste and they throw the tomato. What are you doing to value add?
May I ask, what you are bringing here, it is very important for the nation. It is very important for any person with understanding. It is very important for any person who has Zambia at heart, not because you belong to a political party. If you remember, 1991, I issued a statement, and I'm still grateful to Jehovah that I issued it. Vatatava Kaunda, may he so rest in peace.
Amen.
I was told I was sponsored by Kaunda. When you, MMD was coming into power, I've told this story several times, but let me just cut short. I said to this woman who was selling me so much in a hurry, saying, "SAVIOUR va Zambia na besa." I said, Mayo, without God, no person in this nation can fix the problems that we have. It's a lie. It's a complete lie.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Was there at any time a cabinet as educated as Chiluba's cabinet?
No, never.
Can you tell me, or those watching by television, how many graduates, how many doctors did Chiluba's cabinet have?
Yes.
Plenty.
Plenty.
But I said, MMD will not solve the problems of this nation. The Bible says, if my people are called by my name, if you get God out of the system, you are done.
You are gone.
And they say, people said, you've been sponsored. There are two ministers I won't name, and they are no longer with us. They hated Kaunda with passion.
I know.
And I said, when you go into power, are you going to do better than? He says, oh, Pastor, Kaunda is a Form 2. We are graduates. 3 years down the road, we met in town. There were two. And I said, now that you are in power, this is 3 years. Says, you know, Pastor, jokingly, one of them says, Pastor,
yes.
We are dealing with certain issues. And 10 years after, MMD was beginning to become a party of.
Correct.
What I'm saying in short, President, what you are bringing are facts that I believe in.
Yes.
I didn't hate UPND. MMD.
Yes.
I didn't hate UNIP.
Correct.
I didn't hate, yes, Dr. Kaunda went wrong. He did certain things wrong.
Correct.
MMD, they did certain things wrong. PF, they did certain things wrong.
Correct.
This party which is there, it's not going to do 100% right.
Correct.
As long as we are in this blood and flesh, I can assure you, it is very easy for us to say 100 days in office, everything is perfect. It is very good. But like I always say, if this government won't look to God, President, I can assure you, it is something. May I, before I bring back to what I want you to comment on, when I was growing up, every 24th of October, it used to rain. Ngai after 24th of October, tailokele, nishiba Kaunda, vaya ku church.
Yes.
Na tupepele mfula. You know that man, may he so rest in peace.
Yes, it's very true. It was spiritual.
He would push things to God. Call the churches. Let's pray. Today, this is 13th December, isn't it?
Yes.
There is no rain. And there is no political voice saying, where is the church? Because these things, they think they are political. No, it's climate change, it's climate change. But all these things are written. That when you do this, I'll send the rain.
Correct.
When you do this, I'll send... It has nothing to do with the parliament or whatever.
Correct.
So now, why I brought this is this. With all the information that you have, wouldn't you think that people will think that you've got sour grapes against some people, yes, against some organization?
I've been the most consistent leader in Zambia. And I'm saying this with the clearest mindset. When I quit as a member of parliament, I said time has come for us as citizens to adopt a systems approach so that when you are doing something, it must not be about sour grapes or bitterness. When we let the systems guide us, but above all else, there's the owner of this universe. Pastor, I sat down with Dr. Chiluba when he was being persecuted. And I was a young parliamentarian. The president was deserted. He was alone. There are many things that I learned in that period. And there are many things he spoke about Zambia, what he went through. And many deep secrets about this country that he confided. Deep things about Zambia. He was weeping over this country. And he said this, that without God, you can never succeed as a president. That when I declared Zambia as a Christian nation, he said, all I did was to pray as I was speaking to the country. Then I found myself making those utterances, and I gave this country to God. Now, speaking from the Jewish perspective, every time that the nation of Israel ran away from God, there was punishment upon the nation. And anyone, whoever thinks that no is the Alpha and Omega, now I'm here, it's me. There's the one above. You can't aggregate him. You can't disaggregate him. There's God above. Who historically, even if you go, if you don't believe in the Bible, just go by archaeological evidence. There are kings that the Almighty humbled like Nebuchadnezzar to show them that it's not about human intelligence. It's not about human authority. Because when people have this state power, they begin to assume that they are sacred, that everything begins and ends with them, and therefore they can abuse whoever they want to abuse. And this is incorrect. Zambia belongs to all of us. It is wrong, Pastor, to say one thing and you do something else. No one will be retired national interests. The following week, 10 provincial intelligence officers are retired. 10. And directors at the Red Brick headquarters, Red Brick, Zambia Intelligence Service, the good service, they are retired. Some of them are in the prime of their age. These are men and women that this country has trained at a great cost from the days of Kenneth Kaunda. And then you bring in 35 cadres in suits. You know, I'm putting on a suit. You say, no, we have stopped radicalism. Then you go and bring 35 cadres and you embed them in security systems. Now to target who is speaking, who will be seeing democracy. Now this one to appear like an ordinary crime, go for that one, go for that one. This is wrong. That's what we are saying. We saw pastors who have put in the days of President Chiluba. When Kaunda warned us, there is no government, not even the current one. Even the current one is not even 10% close to Chiluba in terms of democracy. People speaking freely. People inside Chiluba, they would do all kinds of cartoons like, is it Roy Clark? Is it Roy Clark? Whatever, you remember those days. Chiluba wouldn't respond to
You wouldn't
that.
answer?
No, not Chiluba, no. You allowed people to be free, to speak. But how many people died in that period? Paul Tembo was due to appear before a tribunal the following morning to talk about the $2 billion, $2 billion kwacha, sorry, from the National Assembly, which was used on the MD Convention. Died. Ngenda, a lawyer, very vocal, speaking about Zambia, went. Churu Kalima. Paul Tembo, Ronald Penza, quit as Minister of Finance. And he said he was going to have a news conference. Very brilliant. Ronald Penza was voted as the second best Minister of Finance in the world. Not in Africa, but in the entire universe. Killed in cold blood. We can go through the list of all those people who perished in the same period. It was like a special branch in another way. Today, we are seeing the same trend, special branch. The fact that you remove cadres in regalia from the streets and then they go gray in suits, you are targeting who to target. It doesn't mean that Zambia has become a better country. Just like what we have said. Why are we promoting, if we are giving holidays to mining companies, why are we not letting the mine workers have the same benefits? Because if these mining companies will pocket $3.2 billion, why not increase salaries for mine workers? When you look at the basic needs basket for a family of 6 in Zambia, it's around 9,000 kwacha thereabout. Why can't we increase the tax threshold to that amount of money? Because this mining, especially in the mining sector, look at the Copper Belt. Today the Copper Belt is like a glorified refugee camp. Mining companies, the people in the Copper Belt are suffering. Mining companies are getting out with it. But in 2016, I'll give an example. ZCCMIH took First Quantum Minerals to court. Because First Quantum Minerals took $2.3 billion. They borrowed. First Quantum Minerals is a group, which is the owner of Kansanshi. They went to Kansanshi to borrow $2.3 billion. Then from there, that amount of money was put in an interest-earning account. And they made $228 million in interest in a short time. Then at the same time, there was a 20% to be paid on the principal, which is $570 million in 1 year. This is what I'm talking about. CHISHIMBA went to court. We are talking about $2.3 billion, and these are the amounts. State House at that time intervened. Now, if all these issues, I know these matters will be sorted outside court. So we are talking about 2.5 billion. If First Quantum Minerals as a group can borrow from Kansanshi $2.3 billion in a year, why should the government of Zambia go outside? No, for us, we are smart people, we are economic managers. Let's go outside. We are going to borrow to repay the debt. Contracting debt to repay debt is not debt repayment.
1.4 billion.
I'll repeat that. Contracting debt to repay debt is not debt repayment. You haven't repaid the debt. You go and borrow to repay the debt. You haven't repaid the debt. It's not repaid, it's zero. We are worse off. When you say no, you are borrowing Kaloba, it's not true. There's nothing like Kaloba. There is no government which can borrow Kaloba. This is incorrect. I know that they've been trying to politicize. Government borrowed $300 million from a local businessman in Mekadile. Pastor, there are people in this country genuinely who have labored, who are business people. You can name them. Is it Sogotab? All these big insurance companies, local companies, including local banks. What is better? To go to our own people to borrow, to repay the debts, instead of going outside. If First Quantum Minerals can get $2.3 billion in 2016 from Kansanshi mines, why would it be difficult for us to let the government have the same facility locally and repay the debts? These debts can be repaid. Now, look, Pastor, you have a budget of 106 billion kwacha thereabout. First of all, that budget is smaller than the budget of Harvard University.
By far.
By far.
By
Harvard
far.
University, of 22,000 students, the budget is about $12 billion.
Yeah.
Ours is around $7-8 billion, which is a joke. Now, when you look at the balance sheet of Zambia, when I'm talking about the balance sheet, look at assets. Look at the copper stock that we have in the soil. Look at the gold, the emeralds, the water resources, the Arab land. Has the PF gone with these things?
No.
No. Why are you saying the PF? No, everything is the PF. It's the PF, someone to blame as a political game. Because you are playing to the gallery. Because people saw what happened under the PF, the lawlessness.
But I think that is the song that comes. You remember when UPND, MMD came into power?
Yes.
They said UNIP.
UNIP. And two Zambians,
when MMD came, went out.
The same thing.
The same thing. Yes. Now this party is
the same thing.
The same thing. I think it's the same.
We need to put a break to this thing. You see, for instance, Pastor, we in the EPP have a policy, and it's a very clear policy. Copper is ours. Why should mining companies go with it? And we, the people of Zambia, are in corrupt systems. Corruption is a system, as I said much earlier. And this is what you must address if you are genuine. Why maintain the same system? You are saying, no, this contract for fertilizer, it was entered into by the PF. And then go ahead and pay $50 million to someone who is married to a minister in your government. So we are paying. These are scandals. And why pay?
Is there evidence to that?
There is evidence to all these things that I'm talking about. Why would you do that if it was corrupt? If something was corrupt, why sustain it? You must put a stop to it. And even this notion of saying, no, we are implementing a PF budget. There is nothing like a party budget. There's only one national budget. When you read the appropriation bill, it doesn't say PF budget. It's the president of Zambia signing for GRZ, Government of the Republic of Zambia. So when I become president today, I can't wait. Don't let me wait for my budget in January. You have the power. That's why there's what is called supplementary expenditure. You can go to parliament, you can vary. Say, no, we want to vary because this is an emergency.
Like Donald Trump
did. Look, yes.
Says, I want more
of this immediately. You have the instruments of power. Use power to help the people who are weak in society. Don't rush to fulfill the obligations internationally. Look at the issue of KCM. Within 2-3 weeks, they appointed an auditing firm. Was that part of the national budget that KCM would be audited? We want to know. And the link between the regime and that auditing firm, which is auditing KCM right now. Auditing KCM with a view to giving it to who they wanted to give, somebody probably who placed the party under capture. So what you are saying, we're not accusing any party. What you are saying is state capture starts with political party capture. They will come with financing. No wonder, Pastor, we've been calling for a law on political party financing. Because when you get help from all these outside huge amounts of money, you begin to serve the interests of those people and not the people of Zambia. And this
like the Bible says, the borrower is a slave to the lender.
And that's exactly what is happening.
You're out there in the opposition, or you have a party.
Yes.
Once they give you 1, 2, 3 things,
you want to please them.
You win.
You want to please them. And this is what is happening in Zambia right now. And this is a scandal. Zambia is under capture. And I think that the people of Zambia must live with this reality that they have been deceived again. So what you are saying is, we in the UPP, if we want to fight against corruption, we must separate, as a matter of agency, policy formulation from implementation. Right now we have line ministries making policies, implementing policies. It is wrong. Our position is this: we must scrap off all statutory bodies that have taken over the functions of councils. Why do we need to have the National Housing Authority? It must be scrapped off. From the very beginning, it's councils that were building low-cost houses. Councils would do what is called site and service. When you go to Kabwata, where we by election and we are fielding a candidate, site and service, Kabwata site and service. The council would site the area, they will service the place with water and the sewer system. Then people would go to buy plots and then they will build. It's the job of the council. Now, when they wanted to take over power from Kaunda, from the NIP, they began to destroy local government. Everything was at the top. PHI initiative houses being built by the president. And today we continue the same culture, the president taking over institutions. The president is chairperson of IDC. Now, the IDC owns 32% shares in the mines. I'm talking about the ZCCM. In the mines, 32%, IDC. So you are putting 32% shares under the control of the president. And then the government of Zambia, now as government, only has 22% shares in ZCCMIH. 62%, the president through the IDC, and then 22% institutions and individual Zambians who can own shares, they want to buy shares on the Lusaka Stock Exchange or any stock exchange internationally. So this is a problem already. So what they are saying is that time has come to take this power back to the people of Zambia. Why should we create the Road Development Agency when you have public works departments at the council level? So we'll scrap off the RDA, we'll scrap off ERB, we'll scrap off the National Housing Authority. And instead, including these offices of district commissioners, we don't need them. We need one government at district level, and that is the local authority. We have executive mayors right now. Those mayors must be the one to run the affairs of a district, of a council, what we shall call counties under our system. So when we scrap off RDA, we shall have the public works departments under each district. Chingola PWD, Mansa PWD, Choma PWD, Lusaka PWD. Pastor, this measure alone will build capacity in the councils, because when it's dissolved, when it's scrap of RDA, all those engineers and directors, there will be directors of PWDs across the country. We don't need to make people jobless. They must go and build capacity in the councils. So this measure will take off young people who are carpenters, metal fabricators, painters. Everyone will be off the streets. This measure will create 1,030,000 jobs. Because these PWDs, they will go back to do what councils were doing originally, to build the houses, so that councils can make the money. Because when they build the houses, they put them on mortgage. The soldiers, men and women in uniform, the intelligence service, civil servants, and the private sector, They are going to have low-cost housing on mortgage. Somebody can pay over 5, 10-year period, 20-year period, and they own houses.
May I ask
this is a very
this
important
President?
Yes.
I've often got puzzles with you politicians. You see, this Zambia is not for HH.
Correct.
One, our president is young. Two, he cannot be president for more than 10 years.
Correct.
Okay? If he wins 2026, he will just rule for 10 years. After that, somebody must come. And in short, these brilliant ideas that you have, do you have time as politicians to come together and say, let's build Zambia? Because this is not about UPND. And I know there are these things, whether you deny them or not, President Chishimba, probably you are saying these wonderful things because you are not in power. When you come in power, you repeat the same mistakes. Mukesa senda fyaba kuchinsadi naba kukasama kweba timonenya batumbuka eko balafu bina kuchipata. You are the same people. Do you have time to say, HH, come to, let's build Zambia? I think this is where I have problems with you politicians. You talk well when you are in the opposition. When you go in, it's a different ballgame altogether. You know? Do you have time to sit and say, let's go through this national?
Pastor, show me your friends and I'll know who you are. This is very important. In February, I met with President Taka in Dejrema, in his house.
This year?
This year. And I told him, I said, the difficulty that I have to be part of this alliance, we're discussing this UPND alliance, is this: number one, you have allowed, before you form government, you under capture already. I said, what do you mean? I said, I'll give you a list. I gave him a list. In his house. I said, look, these people already, look what they did. Albert Einstein.
In the previous government.
Yes, Albert Einstein, a Jew, Albert Einstein, a physicist, said, you cannot solve today's problems by using the mindset that you had when you created them.
Say that again. That's a wonderful thing.
Albert Einstein said, who is a Jew, a physicist, you know about Einstein?
Yes,
he said, you cannot solve today's problems by using the same mindset that you had when you created them. We have people. When the Chinese problem was created, Musokotwane was Minister of Finance under the Arabic government. They gave contracts more than government could pay. This debt started with the Arabic regime under Musokotwane as finance minister. And the UPND government, then President HH, was criticizing Musokotwane for these things. Musokotwane, the government loses power, he goes to join. And he puts him in charge of finance. I said, I see this man returning as finance minister. I said, no. He told me to give him a list. I gave him a list in his house. These people, they have prominent roles already. I don't see change coming. And I told him, when I quit from the PF, this is the issue I had. I told Basata, I said, President Sata, by the way, I crafted the PF manifesto. All these key parameters saying this is what we need to do with other committee members, key input. We said lower taxes, more money in your pockets, and more jobs. And these things are doable. But I told Basata that, sir, look, you are already entertaining the same people. He said, no, we'll control them. I said, you will not control them. They have positions. My words came to pass. They were appointed as deputy ministers. President Lungu promoted them to full cabinet positions. And then today, we have the same situation. Because, you see, the people who drive policy agendas are ministers and not the president. A minister moves what is called a cab memo. The PS, before something is tabled before cabinet, a permanent secretary will do what is called a cab memo, cabinet memorandum. It will go to all ministries. And before it goes to be tabled in a cabinet meeting for the president, it must get 2/3 threshold before it goes to cabinet. So all must agree. then to go to cabinet and then eventually to be approved. So in this case, how do you put people that are known for the same scandals to drive the agenda? As if that's not enough. When it comes to key positions, the same thing happens at women secretary level. The people somehow are connected, including some boards. And suddenly you are seeing the re-emergency. KCM announced, you have appointed someone who served under the RB, in fact, the Monasa regime connected to the RB as well. As economic advisor, this person is back now to be the PR person of KCM. Who is reviving KCM? Vedanta, sorry. These are questions you must ask. So we have people, we are talking about that with the politicians. Pastor, the problem starts with who is around you. The UPND of Mazoka is not disciplined that we have. Mazoka assembled a team of people who are not tainted. If you recall, it was Mazoka, Patrick Chisanga, Sakiba Scotta, clean people, that team that he assembled. And he wanted Zambia to industrialize. This country needs innovation. It's about time that we put Zambia first. Yes, it's true that you politicians, I think that time has come to put politics aside, but to put Zambia first. Putting Zambia first means putting systems first. We need a systems approach. We need to agree as a country. And first of all, it's about time that Zambia crafted a constitution. Because what we have is the biggest national scandal that we have is that we have no constitution up until now. What we call the constitution is not a constitution. When Zambia was about to gain independence, there was a meeting which was called in London. They called President Kaunda, Samuel Mansaka and a few others, 5 of them, to go and to be part of the discussions on the making of the constitution, which was going to be an attachment. So the House of Commons had decided, because Zambia was a British protectorate, was a British, a colony. So they decided, okay, this will be the. And if you look at what is in the clauses today, especially on the presidential powers, Pastor, word for word, it's the same wording as it was done in England. The same powers the Governor General had, the Governor had, are the same powers that have been maintained. Now, why did governors have those powers? Because they wanted to abuse the citizens. They wanted absolute control for the sake of perpetuating colonialism in our country. That was the reason for that. So, when the House of Commons presented the Zambia Independence Bill, in that bill, which became an act of parliament, they provided under Section 10, first of all, that the Queen will have power to issue orders in the council over the colony called Zambia. So the Queen invoked the provisions of the Zambia Independence Act 1964, Section 65 of the Laws of England, to issue what are called orders in council. So now you can imagine an act of parliament and orders in council. Then this order in council had Schedule 2, which in the same order in council, which are also called it the constitution, it was attached to the order in council. And in that same so-called constitution, which was an attachment of the order in council, they said the first president shall be Kenneth Kaunda. So it was a constitutional matter for President Kaunda to be president without elections. Whether we have elections, it was declared that he must be the first president of Zambia. No elections, not Tunkumla, not Kapekwe. President Kaunda be the president of Zambia, the first president of Zambia. And then the independence. And by the way, they also provided for that. Zambia will proceed to independence as one country, and everything with Barroso land will come to an end. And that was the end of it. So what am I saying, Pastor? What Zambia should have done was what India did, what America did, all the nations that were once under Britain. Because America was once under Britain. Somehow. But so, what we need is to have what is called a constituent assembly. Upon getting independence, Zambia should have met as a constituent assembly without any reference to the British. We meet as a free people. America did this in Philadelphia, they met. South Africa is younger than Zambia, they did this. India did this, which is the biggest democracy in the world. They met. And they elected someone to chair a constituent assembly. People submitted, and they came up with a basic charter, because a constitution is not just a law, the basic law of the land. It is also a charter. irrespective of color or tribe. It's a rule book. Because Zambia is not one Zambia, one nation. Zambia is different nations united as one. And upon doing this, then that chairperson of the assembly must authenticate that this is what we have agreed to on behalf of the people, and everyone must be represented. All the people of Zambia, each district, each sector, the church, everyone must be represented. When you sign, it becomes the law without any reference to any act. So that we can stop calling our constitution to say, like this one is called Constitution of Zambia Amendment Act of 2016. Constitution Amendment Act. What are you talking about? Because the constitution comes before the act of parliament. And the parliament cannot decide on the constitution because it's a creature of the constitution. The executive can't decide on the constitution because it's a creature of the constitution. They can't decide on these matters.
Like the lady, the Speaker of the National Assembly,
she can't pronounce herself.
She has pronounced that these don't qualify before going to court.
It's totally illegal. Because Parliament should not interpret the law. It's illegal. Parliament makes the laws. Now, we're not talking about the laws, we're talking about acts of Parliament and not the Constitution. The judiciary interprets the law. They don't make the laws, but to interpret. But through judicial precedents, because precedents become part of the legal system. Just like when you pick the Bible, people pick the Bible, they read the scripture and they think they understand it. And yet with the Bible, there's the oral Torah. Each scripture, if you go into the Talmud, it will show from the time of Moses how those were interpreted to be applied into law, because it's a legal system which needs support interpretations. How did the court rule about this matter? What is the position on this matter? They don't interpret it in that light. So this was a country. So, Pastor, all I can say on this matter is that I think time has come for us as a country to stop this tendency. From what happened in the NDP government when in 1968, the NDP government called what is called a referendum to end all referendum. They called for a referendum. Apparently, in that Schedule 2, there was a clause that it couldn't be altered unless all the citizens were consulted. Because the hope of the British was that Zambia would meet to craft the constitution. So they said nothing should be altered. So they said, let's remove this one which says you can't alter anything. We remove it so they can begin to alter it. It was only Western Province which voted no. The rest said yes, because they didn't understand what is the constitution. Now, Western Province, the Barotse land, had more educated people than any other part of Zambia. So they understood what it meant. So they voted no. So we must thank Western Province, the Barotse land, for having attempted to save Zambia in 1968. Everyone said yes to Kaunda and UNIP. Then from there, Chiona Commission in 1972, they amended the same Schedule 2. Then 1990, Mvunga, the same one. Then under the Chiluba administration, Manakato, the same one, amending the same thing. Parliament using a cabinet deciding using white paper. Then again, the PF government in 2016, amending the same thing. So I think time has come now to have the basic charter of the land. So that we can decide on how all these key bodies are going to run. I'm talking about the executive, the legislature, and the judicature, including institutions like the SEC, because these are governance institutions.
Let me ask you this question. You called sorry one of the things that the crimes I've committed in this nation. I like using my independent mind, yes, but you call them the alliance, political alliance. I call them job seekers.
Yes.
Because you see, when you go in an alliance, I know that you are going there. Some of them, they have a mind that I will be appointed.
Yes.
Even disregarding the wrongs or the skeletons that they have. But they are going there. Now, those who are fortunate have been appointed. But I can tell you, those who haven't, they are bitter.
Correct.
And this, 2 years from now, it will have issues.
Correct.
It will have problems.
Correct.
I'll go back to where you said targeting Zambian businessmen.
Yes.
Where is Finance Bank today? Finance Bank was a one Zambian bank.
Correct.
And we are proud it was in Akonde everywhere.
It's very true.
Political interference comes in. Kick Matani out.
Correct.
You have companies like Savenda today, you have notable companies
yes.
that probably, if they are not being investigated, they will be investigated.
Correct.
How did you get this money? Surely,
Yes.
even if someone is down,
Yes.
the president, ngamwampera $1 million,
You can grow it.
do I need to have an MBA for me to grow that?
For sure, you can grow it.
So, going back to this, my heart bleeds, President. I can tell you this.
Yes.
Hello, bwafya bwa politicians. Nga mulikunse mulanakirira sana. Visiting every church, including in Abachitawala. You visit the mosques. Nga mwaingira fye muli. You start intimidating people, powerless pastors like threatening me with ZRA. I don't know.
Yes.
But I think time must come.
Yes.
Mr. President, time must come. This is a nation. We can't play with people's lives.
Correct.
I heard that somebody just sent me that, Pastor, look, we were promised free education.
Yes.
10,000. I don't know if it's 10,000 students who are supposed to be on loan or scholarship. They've only picked two.
Two, yes.
But the free education was up to grade 12. Was it up to university?
Up to university. It was up to university, from primary to university. That was a promise.
So what about the 8,000? What will they do?
You see, Pastor, and this is what takes me back to what I was saying much earlier, that I think that time for this country has come for a sober reflection.
Mm.
And even this tendency of saying that when a member becomes president, then members are ruling, it must be brought to an end. Because and I've been saying this, that there is no tribalism in Zambia. I've been saying this consistently. What we have is nepotism. When a Tumbuka becomes president, it's not the Tumbukas who are president. This person will begin to appoint friends with business interests and so forth like that. So it is wrong to be saying that when a Tumbuka makes a mistake, we say Tumbukas are bad people. We must look at the person who has made a mistake and say this person is the wrong person. I do understand, yes. So we say this is the situation. Because like right now, you see, we are being told, for instance, Pastor, that no, unlike other regimes, now we have a lean delegation when they're going outside the country, so they're saving the money. You see, the person who can believe that is someone who is like empty in the head. What am I talking about? The president is an institution. And it's not about President Hakainde. I'm talking about the presidency. It's an institution. No, we shall not use the private jet. We'll use commercial airlines. There is another cost which will kick in. The biggest cost driver in the presidency is security. Because he's carrying the country. It's not a private person. It's the country. That's the president. He's carrying the nation. He's a flag carrier number one. So, the moment we say we shall not use a private jet, we are going to use commercial flights. People are celebrating, yeah, commercial flights. No, you can see Sunday. But in that aircraft, now you increase the number of OP operatives, people in suits like me. And I'm speaking as a security expert of international standing. So it means in the economy of that commercial class, in that aeroplane, there must be people from security in the economy. Maybe they will decide, these are security personnel. I'm not talking about the president. He may not even know. They will decide that, okay, if it's a plane carrying 300 people in economy, we need to have one security officer manning 10 people. So they'll buy seats there. In case someone has a gun,
without the president.
No, in case of a hijacker, how can they manage the situation there? If there's somebody who's an hijacker there. In the business class, almost the entire business class will be security. They will buy seats, they will block seats there. They can't risk that. It's an embarrassment to the country. If we stop over in London to connect, there are people who go as advance party at that airport. There's what we call sweeping. They must sweep. They must know data who is traveling from which country. Could that be a terrorist? It's a big joke. He arrives in London, thinks he's the people are seeing him with 2 people. No, he's alone. That's a joke. From there, you connect. Before you go, sir, please, let's not play to the gallery. Let's not think that Zambians of today, they are down. It's incorrect. Let's stop playing to the gallery. No, we want to save costs. So what are we doing? No, all directors in the government, parliament, the judiciary, would get away their 4x4s, we'll give them to Furwe. We want to save costs. That's a joke. You see, if we want efficiency in the government, we need a well-paid civil service. You cannot get an engineer with a master's degree, a police analyst that knows how to Furwe. And then you expect these people
to perform.
Then you are a joker. Pay people well, unless we work as a pay people well. And expect them to perform.
The Bible says, yes, do not muzzle the cow that treads the corn.
Absolutely.
If you want efficiency, reward the people.
Reward the people. And when I'm talking about saving the cost first, I gave an example. What cost are you saving? You are saying we shall increase the price of fuel, we remove subsidies. Meanwhile, you are forgetting, as I said earlier, in the cost plus model, which the ERB, which will be scrapped off under UPP, because it's useless, you don't need the ERB. That ERB has the CPM model. When you look at the cost structure, there's what is called road levy. First, why should people pay road levy? Because there are toll gates, there are toll fees that people are paying, and then also pay road tax. Each there's road tax.
Is it still there?
It's there in the cost structure. And then there's margin, or marketing company margin level, then ERB fee, and then fuel reserve fund fee. So we look at all these fees. If we remove them, all these fees, we don't need to remove the so-called subsidy. In fact, when we remove all these costs, Pastor, the price of fuel in Zambia can be among the lowest. Why? Because we have the pipeline. We are the only country in the region with a pipeline. From the port in Dar es Salaam to Ndola.
But there is an explanation that this thing does not bring
They put it under siege. Because some of them, they know that, someone from their company was funding you. It's the problem we have, personal interest, not national interest. So let's ground in Deni, so that we can reward this person in the same oil marketing sector. And then we'll give an excuse that after all, the PF did the same. No, it was shut by the PF. We are maintaining the same thing. We are coming up with a new business model. This language, the people will not eat the language. The people will eat because they have more money in their pockets.
This is why I say, President, that you politicians need to be checked. I'll give you another example. Yes. One of my church members, Professor Munkomba, he was the general manager for Zambia Has. At the time, Zambia Has was to be shut, but he moved to Kenya, to Arusha as a lecturer, before it was shut. But when you hear those people and the management that sat there, President, Zambia Has had more assets than Kenya was. Yes. It had more assets than Ethiopia Airlines.
Correct, yes.
But because of the political and selfishness, we subjected Zambia Has to liquidation. And we become a nation without an airline.
Correct.
When we were better off than Ethiopia, now we are getting into contracts, getting planes which look like a minibus, and you say we have started an airline. Surely. Where are we going to? So I put it again to you politicians. I think if there is a way not to catch the scrap of politician, I'm telling you, let's run this country.
There are also judges.
Because whoever comes has this interest, he has this agenda, he has that. And in that vein, may I ask, the opposition in this country, 8 UPF members of parliament have been declared. What are the dangers of those 8 losing the seats, or 9 or 10 or whatever they are, what are the dangers? If they lose those seats and they go to UPND, will there be a fair voice to say, or of course it's to advantage of the party, because once you want to propose this, it goes without any opposition.
Correct.
And I think every political party, when it comes into power, echo musaliro waku opposition, mwampera koka brown envelope nangu mututwala kuchecha tinova chechi bama brown envelopes. Na imwe ne mulapoka. So you give this one, it's because you want the muscle. Is there a strong opposition party in this nation?
You see, this is the, every time, and I totally agree with you, Pastor, and this is a matter of concern. You see, Zambia does not need a strong party in government or a strong president. We need strong institutions. And this is what differentiates the UPP from the rest. We've consistently talked about the need for strong institutions and not men, because a person can make a mistake. When the PF rose to power, the first thing they did was to appoint members of the opposition into cabinet. The same thing was done by President Mwanawasa, by the way. He appointed FDD into cabinet and everybody, Heritage Party. That's what he did. Why? Because he wanted to weaken the opposition. To have the absolute say in the house, to control the house. PF did the same. And then we see the same trend. Now, what is interesting about the current order is that these are people who say they're economic managers. Now, if you are interested about the economy of the country, and you're talking about cost reduction, why do you want to cause these by-elections? Because if you know that the country has no money, you can rise above board. You can say, okay, the PF or whichever parties of members of parliament, including independents, they have not petitioned, those who lost, who stood as independent, they have not petitioned the UPND at a scale as we have seen UPND petitioning others. So in the interest of progress, let us move on. Because after all, UPND still has the majority in the House, followed by the PF. Why do you want to have absolute majority? For what purpose? So now you can see that there's an agenda. Because the target is Lungu. It's not about having majority for economic development, no. It's about Lungu. Because they don't remove the immunity, they need 2/3. They have the majority, but they have no 2/3. So how do you remove the immunity of Lungu? And the few of our citizens who are not so analytical to understand where the country is going, say, yes, prosecute Lungu. Now the question is, if Lungu today went to jail, how would that help Zambia? I'm not saying that whoever commits a crime must go free. No. All I'm saying is this a priority? In a country, you are saying the country is broke, and then you go for by-elections. Why are you doing that?
By removing immunity, is the country now developed?
The answer is no. And Pastor, I can tell you this, and before the country Zambia, today we can remove the immunity of President Lungu. I can assure you, Lungu will not go to jail. He will not go to jail. Lungu, like Chirwa, will not go to jail, like Banda will not go to jail. Leave Lungu alone. Let's prioritize. There are so many things to focus on now. And only are saying, if we want to fight against corruption, start from 1991, then we'll call it a genuine fight against corruption. And it must be above board. Because what happened in that period, as of it passed, they ran down, they closed, deliberately stripped off the assets of Zambia Airways. Because they wanted to bring Aero Zambia on board. Because, and they're calling the private sector, this language, private sector development. These mafias. Economic hitmen. They brought Aero Zambia because they wanted to rip off the republic. No, let's shut down all this. We don't need Dunlop. They shut down Dunlop. Zambia was manufacturing tires in this country in dollar under Dunlop. Today Dunlop has come back as traders. Tires are being manufactured elsewhere, then they're trading. In the same period, the pastor, ministers and people from their friends, mafias from the private sector, they formed a company to trade second-hand tires. The country is regressing. Leo Kwan, the man who built Singapore, the first prime minister of Singapore, sent a team to Zambia in the 70s to come and learn from the Zambian model. Because Zambia, up to the early 1970s, had a currency which was stronger than the dollar.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So he came to learn and he picked our model. Singapore applied the Zambian model, and today Singapore is a first world country. Where is Zambia? Because of mafias. The problem with people who say they are business people or they understand the economic managers, the problem is that they tend to be theoretical. Look, Pastor, how can in a country, an economy which is in a recession, you go and increase the policy rate or the reserve ratio? The state reserve ratio is a percentage of the commercial bank savings that must be kept with the central bank or the Bank of Zambia. So if the reserve ratio, I give an example, if it's 5%, it means 5% of the money that banks, commercial banks have in deposits, it must be kept with the Bank of Zambia. If you increase that to 10% or 9%, so what you are saying is that banks will become less liquid, and effectively you are determining the interest rate. So when you increase the interest rate, the cost of money is increased. What is the cost of money? I'm talking about the cost of borrowing. When the cost of borrowing increases, it's difficult for SMEs to borrow the money. In fact, not just SMEs, but also micro, small, and medium enterprises to borrow the money. Because the business community needs the money to grow the economy. When you increase the interest rates, you are effectively increasing everything. When you increase the policy rate, there's what is called overnight lending by the banks, through which banks can actually borrow money, I mean, among themselves and so forth like that. So when you increase the policy rate, you are increasing these overnight lending rates. And it's not good for the economy. The economy cannot grow. We need, first of all, because to every economic question, the economy rests on two wheels. Fiscal policy and monetary policy. Fiscal policy has to do with the rate of taxation and the amount of spending by the central government. Then monetary policy, which is the central bank, interest rates and so forth. So, when you're talking about the fiscal policy, time has come to scrap off pay as you earn. Why should the worker pay as you earn? Because you pay as you earn, then at the same time, if you live in a rented house, you are paying 10-15% withholding tax, but at the same time, the owner of the house has paid the council the rates, land rates and all those service fees. So when the owner of the house is computing rentals, he or she will take into account the service fees, withholding tax, and the renter pays. So it's a worker who pays. So what they are saying is, when central government is collecting all this money and they hold it at national level, then they start distributing the money, it's wrong. When you as a worker with scrap of pay as you earn, and there are more than 15 countries, by the way, that where there's no pay as you earn, including Bahamas, which has no copper, no gold, nothing, there's no pay as you earn. And the economy is stronger than ours. Bahamas, Pastor.
And Dubai.
And Dubai, among others. No, there's no pay as you earn. So when you get that money, the question is, no, government will have no money. Which government? You don't fund the corruption of central government. When you get your money as a worker under the PP policy, if you live in Lusaka, you have a house, what you pay are municipality rates. Because that's where you're getting the services. They must collect the garbage, they must supply the water, and the councils must be the ones to distribute electricity. Because you can't let the same ZESCO. This ZESCO must be disbanded. It's a center of corruption. It's a center of inefficiency. Don't increase tariffs. Disband ZESCO.
President.
Move. Yes.
I want, sorry for interjection.
Yes.
As politicians, you are so much, I said this before. I don't know why the Zambia and all of you politicians just focus on the fight against corruption. But there are two other evils which are more powerful than corruption, and you don't look at them, because even some of the people in government, not just this one, when I say not just this one, in previous governments, people participate in this and it goes unnoticed. And the Financial Intelligence Center, they know about this. One of it is tax evasion. People in government, they avoid the tax a lot. Because this is President SAVIOUR CHISHIMBA and the Minister of Finance, I will just pick up the phone and say, Commissioner Zedara, President Chishimba has brought a Benz Kuna Konde, how best can you? You are stealing.
Correct.
There are a lot of these evils which people don't see. It's not only tax evasion, but there is money laundering.
Correct.
These are evils that are killing the economy.
Correct.
But we all just match. fighting corruption, fighting corruption. In the meantime, the people around you, in every government, they are into tax evasion.
Correct.
Like you said,
Yes.
there has to be an now,
yes.
without a sacred cow.
Correct.
And you see that the people looked angelic. Actually, they are demons sent from hell.
Absolutely correct.
You know?
Correct. And you know, Pastor, just on this point, this is the reason why we are saying it is wrong to clear. I'm talking about the new state government where they are saying that, no, we are not the ones who signed the Gazette to move all these agencies under the control of State House. It was the PF. All we have done is to add the DEC. That they admit, the Drug Enforcement Commission. Now,
but it's wrong.
The DEC is in charge of money laundering, overseeing issues of money laundering. Now, here is the difficulty that we have. Why has the new Stealth administration been in a hurry to also move the Drug Enforcement Commission, which is in charge of, which is in charge of investigating money laundering, under the people of State House? And it takes us the same thing. How can we let the minds go away with it so that we can bring our friends economic hitmen? You are killing jobs. Look what they come about.
And in the meantime, there is a saying, you can't bite a finger that feeds you.
That feeds you. And this is wrong. And as a matter of fact, when I'm talking about taxation, talking about collection of taxes and so forth like that, money laundering, the Zambia Revenue Authority, it needs a very serious restructuring. You see, these bodies that we created have a huge structure at the top there. Because apart from the revenue collection, when talking about external revenue collection, talking about customs and so forth, there is need to take some of the functions that are under the ZRA authority to take them to the councils. In fact, under our plan, ZRA is going to be scrapped off. Now you may ask, who collects the taxes? You see, there's what is called internal revenue. Internal revenue. This will go to councils. Each council, Lusaka City Council, Lusaka County, will have a register of business that are registered in Lusaka. And Lusaka Council will know from their register, because after all, from PACRA, you need to go to the council to get the trading license, to operate a fire license, everything is the local council. So they will have this database. So they will know. So each council will have the internal revenue department to be able to collect what belongs to each local authority on behalf of the state for services in that local authority. And therefore, what we'll have is the customs department. Now, each customs department, if you're talking about a border like Nakonde, it will not be this ZRA to be in charge of, go scrap it off. It will be the customs department of that Nakonde County to manage that border, and we'll have the border security force. Because border security is very important. It's also about agriculture. Are we getting crops or seeds from China, from other countries, not just China, that will corrupt our soils? That's border security. It's about human trafficking. It's about bringing to the country what can harm this country. There's also bioterrorism. People bring chemicals. You see a chicken, Pastor, in 2 weeks, it's looking like a pig, a chicken. In 2 weeks. They inject the chemicals. 2 weeks, the chicken is ready. Now, when you go and buy that big chicken, and we like big things as the people, this is big chicken, I watch Now, there's what is called half-life of a chicken, half-life of a chemical. So, those chemicals are still working in that chicken. So you eat it. That chemical will go in your body.
Cancer.
The same, you have answered it, Pastor. The same abnormal growth in that chicken cancer is simply abnormal growth of the cells. Look what cancer diseases, then all the vaccine, all these things. It's a scandal. That's why we need a professional Zambia intelligence service. Stop taking cadres. Each party which comes into power, they bring cadres. And you got those men and women, because the unsung heroes is the Zambia Intelligence Service. And yet it's a frontline security service in the country. Absolutely. Even in the Bible, Moses sent the spies to go and spy on the land of Canaan. Joshua did the same. Spies were sent to go and confirm. And I think the Bible tells us about Joshua and Caleb. In Hebrew, Joshua and Caleb,
who gave a different report because they had a different spirit. They believed in God. You talked about believing in the Almighty God. That no. Even though there are giants we are going to overcome, the importance of intelligence. The Zambia intelligence service in this country is abused. And they are not respected.
I don't know under what circumstances that 10 directors could be retired in the, because security wings to train them.
Yes.
I know it takes a lot.
It's a huge cost.
Up to now, I still talk about my brother,
Yes.
Mwamba Makasa. You remember him?
Oh, yes.
Mwamba Makasa was trained from the university time by Kaunda to the time he rose DEC.
Correct.
But that man was one of the few representing Scotland Yard.
Yes.
Now, when you deal with the security system of the nation, I want to go there. Me, I'm a pastor. Let's come back to the land. Let's go back to where I feel qualified. When do you think, as Zambians, we'll come to a place where we say, let's build Zambia? Because the whole thing here, President Chishimba, Zambia can be developed by Zambians.
Absolutely correct.
Like my wife and I are pushing this agriculture thing.
Correct.
Tempulirwa. Surely, we are still importing onion, still importing tomatoes packed in those small things from South Africa, spending foreign exchange on food with this Zambia. It's a shame.
It's very sad. You see, we in the UPP are saying it's time to go back to the original vision of this country. And the vision of Zambia is Zambia first.
May I open the lines? We have minutes. Please go ahead.
National.
Mr. Director, just open the lines. Let the people who want to contribute, please contribute. And may the Lord bless this great nation. Go ahead.
Zambia first. When the NIP government took over power from the colonial government, I think they showed us what leadership was all about. They were not singing about how evil the colonial government was. They embarked on a policy of import substitution. They determined that the country was, the economy was lopsided, and primarily we are everything, the Jewish things were being imported. So it's time to produce these things locally. And they invested in education. They invested in industrial development in the country. And Pastor, when you look at the first National Development Plan, the plan was to create, first of all, to embark as an overall strategy, import substitution, and then create 200,000 jobs. But by the end of the plan, 572,000 jobs were created under the NIP government. So Zambia one time was at a point where we had more jobs than labor. It was no wonder the manpower development was introduced, where even a grade 10, by then it was from 3 dropout, could be picked and be developed. They were trained as handsmen and so forth like that, and the economy grew. At the time that there was a world economic recession, Tazama pipeline was built, and Zambia had the cheapest fuel in the region. Why are we regressing? So I think that time has come to go back to the original vision of the founding fathers and mothers, who put Zambia first, national interest first. And this will only happen by moving away from this thing of saying, Savior will fix it. Oh, man of action. There is no individual who can fix anything. We need to be speaking in terms of systems. And I think that time for a genuine national debate has come in this country. If I want to seek the presidency, let there be a genuine debate about Zambia. And pay attention to details. When every Jew, like me, wakes up every morning, is what you call Shema Israel. And I've been wondering, why should I do Shema Israel? Shema Israel. Talking about God that is one God. Every morning, and before you sleep, you do Shema Israel. Why? Listen. Listening is very important. Listen, because when you listen to something, you receive instruction. And after all, the Bible, the Torah, means instruction. It's an instruction for us to do tikuti et aolam under the Almighty God. When a nation removes God from itself, that's the end of that nation. You see, when the Ministry of Religion was scrapped off, I was worried. I said, no, because that ministry was not serving its purpose. We understand that. But can you therefore remove the Ministry of Home Affairs because it arrested me? I was detained for 7 days, 7 nights. President Takendechilem was detained for more than me, I think more than 30, 40 days, 50 days. Scrap of Ministry of Home Affairs.
It just shows you, President,
Yes.
the priority.
Correct.
Because when you scrap off the Ministry of National
Guidance and Religion, yes.
and Religion,
Yes.
it just shows you the priority
Well,
that some of these things are not
Are
important.
not important. Pastor, when you go to Israel, there is a ministry in charge of religious affairs. Denmark, for them they call it ecclesiastical affairs. There are more than 53 countries in the world with that ministry. Because, in fact, when I'm talking about the Ministry of Religion, it's an acknowledgement that there are people of faiths. There are Christians, there are Jews, there are Muslims, there are all kinds of people. They are a big constituency. In fact, it was you people that proposed the idea in 2016 when I ran for the presidency. So when President Lungu created the ministry, we were very happy. People said, this is a UPP idea.
But
now,
even President Chiluba had it. You remember President
when I played the Ministry of Religion,
Chintala?
Mr.
Chintala.
Yes.
He was Minister of Religion.
Yeah. Absolutely correct. It's at State House. So I think that this country, and you know, this hour, I think it has come to teach us something. I'm not being a prophet of doom, but I think 2022 will teach us lessons. It will be very hard. Because when you increase fuel, you increase tariffs and all these kind of electricity tariffs, and then you are saying, no, the poor won't be affected because they don't drive. The people who run buses, they are not charitable organizations. If they know they are going to Nakonde, they are running a bus going to go to Livingstone, they know there are toll fees to be paid. That's a businessman. Okay, we pay toll fees, how much? They'll calculate. Fuel, how much? So much. Then what should be the fare? In that fare, there must be a profit. So who pays? Ultimately, it's the commuter.
Dear Camnet TV viewers, give us a call, send us a text, and participate in what we are talking about. This is about Zambia. We need to help President HH. We need to help everyone who comes here, just like President Lungu needed help. You know, when I was talking about this Kadarism, President
I watched
Shimba,
that clip.
I was very much against. And I even spoke to my brother Kanganja that these cadres are criminals actually. But we think that in UPND, cadres are gone. They are not gone. You know that?
Correct. They are not gone.
There are a lot of evils. I've got clips and clips of what is happening underground.
Correct.
Now there is vengeance following those people who supported the Lungu.
Correct, yes.
What is going on here? It's pathetic.
It is.
You know, let's pick up this call. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you.
What's your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Lusaka.
Chipata?
Lusaka, not Chipata, Lusaka.
Lusaka, what's your name, sir?
Pastor Mubanga Chao.
Pastor?
Mubanga Charles.
Mubanga Chao.
Please go ahead and speak to the nation.
Good evening, Pastor.
Good evening to you.
Honorable Zambia.
Good evening, thank you.
I'm really very impressed with the way Mr. CHISHIMBA is addressing issues. What he's saying is what we expect, is exactly what is pertaining on the ground. Personally, I call myself a pastor, but I'm a chartered accountant. I'm also a lecturer. Now, look, what we are going backwards is so terrible. When you look at what is happening, yesterday he talked about the move of subsidy. Then you increase the electricity, fuel. What the issue we are doing, you are bringing the burden to the ordinary Zambian. Those down there. You are not solving anything. When you say for the heart of the people, after that thing having the heart of the people, you are increasing the burden and people will suffer. I was very happy when you talked about pay as you earn. At least if you can't come pay as you earn, Honorable Chief was saying, it's even better you raise the tax free to 900 and 900, which is the cost of the living as well, where we are now. But after what we are doing is charity. Look, we talked about in there, which is very true. It's under fee. In then when people come, whatever they do, well, it will make things be cheaper. But now, because of the interest of other people who are there trying to transport to bring up the fuel, then we want to completely shut down there. That is the charity. I'm telling you what the president here is saying. If we can, for other people that are going to hate it, they are going to think it because it's speaking the truth. If we can follow it, that's what it means. You can see that this country can develop. Let's not look at him as the president is politician. No, he's not talking about politics. He's talking about how the country should move. That's how a person can speak. And I don't think so if this is in government, they come and say what is going on. What people say is exactly what they are doing. So what he's saying, I hope other people can learn and say, let's go this way, let's sit down and develop the country before we come into the general election. Then you can see that this country is going to move. I'm telling you, I'm very impressed the way he has anticipated issues. Everything, the economy can start moving. And you can see that, look at Singapore.
Yes.
And this, when you're talking about people who came to later, and what you say is the truth. I've seen all the presidents from President Kaunda up to there. And if we could have followed the model, what we started in, Zambia by now can be the learning model for all these other countries around Southern Africa and beyond. I think we'll talk. The one thing I will request that I will need is number, so that one of these days we can meet and talk. For now, Pastor Chula, I think I will leave it there. Let's leave it to other people to contribute. Thank you very much.
What you do, Pastor Manga, please send your number to the where it says for prayers. Send me the text, because immediately after this program, I will see your number and give it to President CHISHIMBA.
Thank you.
So send it to that prayer line, and don't stop praying for Zambia.
Amen.
Thank you.
You know, President, before you come, he's just complimenting you.
Yes.
My worry is, are we going to see a situation, if that is true, what you said, that every president comes with his own things and people?
Yes.
Are we going to see the emergence of more Zambian companies, and the ones which were thriving under President Lungu will go under, or what? What are we anticipating?
We are calling on the people of Zambia, especially young people. I think time has come to stand up and protect the existing Zambian companies now. Pastor, this is a very big scandal. You see, as I said earlier, it will take Zambians to develop Zambia. For instance, when you people conceived the idea of a ministry of religion, it was not meant to be a ministry to preach to the people. It was meant to be an economic ministry. Where when you go to a church, first of all, that ministry should have identified all the churches, synagogues, if any. I know there's no synagogue, okay? Religious groups, find what they are doing, because the people, 96% of Zambians are spiritual people.
Absolutely.
They believe in something, whether they are Catholics or they are Christians, who are the majority. So, meaning if there is a place where the people go, almost every day is the church, which is the biggest. And we need to acknowledge this.
Which has been given 1 hour.
Yes. So what you add 1 hour. So what you do is identify, first of all, go to the Ministry of Home Affairs, Registrar of Societies, how many churches are registered? If there are 1,000 churches, where are they? They are in Lusaka. So that ministry should have now worked with lands. Let's identify land. How many churches have land? How many are meeting in the schools? How many can you move from the schools to have their own land? Those that have infrastructures, how many have early learning institutions? So, Pastor, are you aware that education in this country was provided by the church?
Absolutely.
During colonialism,
Absolutely.
it was called African education. And these were called medical missions. Germany today has the ministry in charge. In fact, the Minister of Education was religion, by the way. It moved to become education because it is the churches in Germany that were running schools. So churches have medical missions, meaning schools. When we come here, we say have a TV station. Do you have a preschool? If you have no preschool, you must get the financing. It's not the money for the church. It's money for your members who are Zambians. Run a preschool. Would you like to go into medical missions? Let's help the churches to have medical missions. When we do this, Pastor, we'll create jobs across the country.
Absolutely.
We'll provide education which is based on moral ethics. We need a nation of people that fear God, people that know where they are going. And this is important. In fact, when you go to other ministries, to other countries, for them, they even call them Ministry of Islamic Affairs and Other Religions. You Google what I'm talking about. Ministry of Islamic Affairs and Other Religions. So, Zambia being a Christian nation, and I'm speaking as a Jew, that you can say Ministry of Christian Affairs and Other Religions. You are free to do that because you are in a covenant relationship as a nation. And this is very important.
So we are living in a Christian nation without a ministry.
Without a ministry.
Under it.
Yes. So that ministry, when people, and you know, sometimes the people tend to buy trash. Buy sells a lot, by the way. Oh, we don't need it. Oh, because of Musmari. It's not about Musmari. It's about the covenant that your country, my country, has with God.
If you don't like Reverend Musumari, why not just change him and bring another person?
And by the way, because when we have this ministry, as we said, we under the UPP, our policy.
Let's pick up this call. You come back to it. Hello?
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, thank you.
What is your name and where are you calling us from?
Chewe from Lilanda.
Chewe from Lilanda.
Yes, please.
Please go ahead and speak to the nation.
Yes. Thank you so much for the program.
Yes, sir.
And thank you, the President and the Pastor.
Yes, sir.
You know, one big problem that we have in Zambia is, one, when people are highly educated, they think the rest are not important. Whatever advice that you can give, they will seem to hear, but they will not follow exactly what you want. You see, you can be educated, but there is no wisdom in you. A good example is this. When you go to the chiefs, the chiefs who were there 50 years ago were not all of them educated, but the way they kept people and give advice to others, you could even see. Even the rain was not a problem. But you see, if you remove religion, affairs, and all the churches, I don't know what they look at that. You know, sometimes we start thinking, what type of people do we have in Zambia? Definitely, the churches would have come up and talk to the current president to say, sorry, we cannot agree to this. Period. Now look, they agree. And here we are. What may happen would be a very serious drought. Because this country is a Christian nation. People have talked about it, which is true. Zambians are very friendly. Now we have run away from our God. And definitely, is God happy with us? No. Men of God, please talk to the president that needs to be returned back. That needs to be returned back. If you want Zambians to enjoy what we are given, we have a lot of things. But because of the way we have perceived, politicians look to be more than the Zambian citizens. I don't think that's the way. It's so sad. Mother bodies of all the churches, Pentecost, what have you? Please, Pastor Chiluba, Papa Kasala. Tukachula, because we are looking small thing. It's not a small thing. It's a very, very, very big thing. And these things, people usually say, what has come in Zambia? No, it's us to blame. When something is wrong, it's wrong. Whether my father has done something wrong, my brother, a wrong is a wrong. Period. I would rather people don't like me, but I tell them to say, this is wrong. Period. Because God will judge me on the advice. And when it's written in the Bible, I don't just know the. If you know something is wrong,
yes, Leviticus.
Tell the people.
It's the Leviticus.
If you keep it and people perish, you'll have a problem. Thank you so much. Please continue.
Before you go, Bachewe, I want to say that I'm not personally in agreement to have that ministry scrapped. You see, but I'm not advisor to President HH. I even spoke about it, me as an individual. I don't know what the mother bodies, what they say. Those are our, spiritual leaders. But as an individual, I can tell you, you cannot have...
You can't scrap it off.
A nation, yes. Zambia, a Christian nation, in the constitution, and you scrap Ministry of Religious Affairs. And national guidance.
It's incorrect.
There must be something.
Wrong. What are you trying to prove?
There must be something.
And let me say this. You remember when Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, I'm speaking Hebrew, sorry, when after receiving the first set of the 10 commandments on the tablets, then he came, and then when he delayed, people said, wow, is he coming back? Then they pressed Aaron and let us know, please make a god for us. They made this, this snake-like, structure, and it said, behold your God you took out of Egypt. They said, yes. A natural thing.
A golden calf.
Yeah, a golden calf. Sorry, thank you. The sin of the golden calf. So, here we are. You scrap off the ministry in charge of religion and national guidance. You create a ministry of nature. So nature becomes more important than God.
But that ministry of green, whatever, it's the same as environment.
The green economy.
It's just
absolutely.
It's environment.
There's a Ministry of Lands and Environment. There's the Ministry of the Economy. Which green economy? What are you talking about? Now, there are things I don't want to talk about now deliberately because I understand the background of that and where it's leading. We'll talk about that much later. But what I want to say is this. Fellow citizens, you see, leadership determines the spiritual character or standing of a country, whether I like it or not. What I'm saying is real. America grew to be a great nation because America was founded on God.
The principle of God.
In God we trust. That's America. The moment we begin to scrap off, to take from our statutes, God, and so forth, it shows our allegiance.
Rendering
Who are we
God
serving?
Irrelevant.
This country cannot be moving between two opinions. Let God be God in this country. You can't reduce God to nature. You see, like nature, you place him below nature. As pastors, I was saying that ministry is not there to be preaching. It's not a preaching ministry. That ministry is there to try and help the people, the congregants across the country. If there is a place where at least every Sunday we meet the people, is the church. If they are Jews, if there's a place where every Saturday you meet them over Sabbath, it's the synagogue, you meet them. If they are Muslims, if there's a place you meet them maybe every Friday, it's the mosque. And now here's a country which is deeply spiritual. So what we are saying is, just as the church of the pre-colonial era, even today, we have churches running medical missions, they have hospitals,
like
they have schools,
the Catholics.
The Catholic Church.
Everywhere in the nation.
So what we are saying is that time has come for the church to be able to address the needs of the people. So government must acknowledge the existence of religious groups and be able to support their programming for economic development.
Yeah, I go back again. Sorry, tonight I'm on you because you are here as the president of the party. The problem again that I have, you politicians, you wink the church so much during elections.
Pastor, do you know that one
Kula
of the things,
tandalira amachechi mulina kuntanshina cameras mule monekaba fuka
Pastor,
and everything. I think there is that amount of deception that a pastor who is not discerning
who believe?
will believe that Honorable Chishimba means what he says and what. And I think I've been saying
Yes.
time and again, before you elect a member of parliament, before you elect, ask them who is your pastor.
Correct.
I'm a firm believer in that.
I understand
Let me give you recommendation to say Honorable Chishimba Kambwile is credible because he listens to me
Correct, yes.
and I can correct him. Not you just visiting the church. Anyhow.
I think that must be stopped.
You know?
One of the things that I've never done is to, during elections, like I stood as MP for Kasama Central, I never went to a church. Because, that was going to be, like I'm an imposter, I'm a hypocrite. It's incorrect. You can't reduce a church, you can't reduce a place of prayer to be a place where you go now to campaign.
For votes.
It's incorrect. You see, these things that I'm talking about, Pastor, when I'm talking about the need to recognize the spirituality of a country and that the people are spiritual, and to have programming that targets the people where they are. I'm saying this genuinely, and that you cannot forget a constituency like the church, like the religious groups in any country. Israel has a ministry in charge of religion. Look at Israel today. Israel is 39 times smaller than Zambia, or put the other way around. Zambia is 39 times bigger than Israel. The GDP is $500 billion. Ours, $27–30 billion. Look at a tiny country like Israel. Israel is a country that respects religious groups.
Absolutely.
The Jews, the Christians, the Muslims, they respect them. They acknowledge that this is it. Let's respect their beliefs, and all receive financing equally, by the way. Are you aware, Pastor, that when I'm talking about the religious communities, the yeshivot, in Hebrew is yeshivot, in English I'll call them Jewish seminaries. They receive financing. There are people who are paid for studying Torah. They are on a payroll. They start studying Torah because when they are praying, they are studying the Torah. They are blessing the country. So they must be on a payroll. And they live by that. Huge allowances from the state.
But here you scrap the
Yes, you scrap off this. So those
it's important. It's not important.
And you know what? Because this country wants to be a lighthouse in Africa. This is the prophetic purpose of Zambia. Zambia is a lighthouse in Africa. And this country's prophetic destiny cannot be thwarted by anybody. If this country be a nation that the Almighty allotted to us, we must stand up and pray. Zambia needs God. This country must pray. Zambia must refuse division. As I said earlier, Pastor, if you permit me just to explain further, when I said we are not one Zambia, one nation, we are different nations united as one. Each nation, each tribe in the Bible. This week's parasha is by He, meaning and Jacob lived, talking about Jacob, how Jacob lived. Last week's parasha, I'm talking about the Torah, the detailed things. Is by Gash, meaning talking about how Judah approached Joseph. That no, please let us go with Benjamin. Then Joseph identifies himself as, I said, I'm Joseph. You sold into slavery. It was all meant for good by the Almighty. He forgives his brothers. They unite, they heal, and they get united in the common purpose for the nation of Israel. Now, each tribe is called a nation. Before the coming of colonial masters, each tribe was like a nation. The Tonga nation, the Tongas were first to come here. All other tribes came 1,000 years later. They all come dust. We settled in the north, others settled in the western province, the Losis, the Ngonis, everywhere, the Tumbukas and the Mwangas. We settled across.
And that's from Congo.
Please, absolutely.
Kaboke.
So each tribe were the king. Those kings were the rulers. If a Tonga committed a crime when they ran to the Bemba land, you had to mean it, by the way. At Tukushina, Fubareland, at Tukushina. They couldn't go to that area. You have a minute, unless I don't know what it would take for them to. So it was 1900 that we were brought by the colonialists as one, and it was called, they called it Northwestern Rhodesia, which is Barosseland, and Northeastern Rhodesia. They divided us into two.
President.
Yes.
Let's take some text messages There could be some people who have, and by the way, Mr. Director, let's delay the news a little bit because what is coming out here is of stuff. Good evening, Pastor Chiluba and Mr. President. To start with, Mr. President, the issue you have brought are facts, and may you continue speaking for the voiceless without fear in the country. I am with you. God is with you, with us from Sicho Power. Sichone Power or Sicho Power. Shadrach Sichone, Lusaka in Charleston, is just complimenting that Bishop Chiluba and President Chishimba, I am glad to learn from you. Ministry of Religious Affairs was good. I expected this to be extended to province and district. Pastor Kava from Mokushi. If we can work as Zambians, or our country can be developed in 3 years, but as Zambians, we don't love our country. May President Hakainde talk to his Minister of Finance over mineral taxes. You know, this is a point.
It's a very good issue, this one, yes.
Everyone doesn't pay attention. Greetings in Jesus' name. I really like the insight from the President. Please continue with such programs. Lusaka GB. Yeah. Yes. Kudos to you, Pastor, for this program. God bless you. Kudos to Mr. SAVIOUR. Of course, President SAVIOUR, for the rich knowledge and insight to the national matters. God bless you. Just hold on there, Mr. Director. One thing we should not skip lightly, President Chishimba. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm not far from being right. When President Sata came into power, I think one of the things he stopped was to sell the emeralds outside the country.
He stopped.
It should be sold at Intercontinental. I remember that.
Yes, yes.
Did he do that?
He did. Now, you see, I do not agree 100% with the approach of President Sata. But one thing that I commend him for, he showed us that as a president, you can bring change within a days. You don't need 1 month. You see, he began to act. He understood government. It was not like job on training.
No.
He had an idea. Like, for instance, why did I quit after 3 years as MP? In that 3 years past, I learned a lot. You need to have basic understanding about government. A basic understanding. Because to have been in a committee in charge of the national budget, even though people could appear before the budget committee, by the way, privately in the camera, that cameras, we questioned them. Why it was an important committee. Then I understood the structure of government, and I saw where the problem was. No wonder I quit. So the point is this. Somebody's talking about mineral taxes.
Mineral taxes, yeah.
Pastor, the issue is this. We need to understand the history of taxation firstly. Tax was introduced by a company. Zambia at one time was owned by a company before Britain took over, by the BSA company. One man, Cecil Rhodes, owned Zambia and was given a raw charter. We were owned by a company.
And he owned Zimbabwe as well?
Yes, and Zimbabwe as well. One man. Just like America, it was owned by a company, by the way. So, this man introduced hard taxes. Now, what are hard taxes? He realized that wanted to take over the mines and building the railway line, which wanted to go from Cape to Cairo, taking over the mining, the mineral assets in nations and land. So, in order to push people into forced labor, cheap labor in the mines and railways, he introduced hard taxes. So if you live in Akonde, you live in Isoka, you have no money to pay tax because there was the barter system of trade. People are happy, they were living under barter. Even in Ngombele, the Tonga speaking people, our brothers who came early here, brothers and sisters, they developed the economy and the trade of, the evidence of international trade is that in Ngombele, barter system. So, Pastor, in order for someone to pay hard taxes to pay the BSA company, they had to go to the mines to work for cheap labor. And whatever they're working for, they were deducting in hard taxes. For building a hut, you pay tax. That's what they did. So Mr. Donald Siwale, from Mwenzo, and Amwanga, that's why you cannot say small or big tribe. There is nothing like a small or big tribe in Zambia. We are all equal. Each tribe is an equal stakeholder in this country. And let's stop talking about tribe, even race. This country, people came to say to your pastor, people like the Zukas family, a Jew who was a freedom fighter, Andrew Sadan is a Greek, Indians like Desai, Mr. Desai, after whom Desai compound is named, the Patels, all these people, they came to be part of the rebuilding of this, to bet Zambia as a free nation. So we must unite. So Mr. Donald Sward, when he created the first African Welfare Association, he was a very smart man. He said, no, you want to make it easy for you to collect taxes. And the colonial masters were happy, these commissioners now, by the time, this is a very good idea. They had no idea. By the way, by then, the British now had taken over the control of the Republic. Pastor, they had no idea that they had just started the road to fight for independence. People now, natives are getting organized. And it grew.
1946.
Yeah, much ahead actually. So it grew. Then by 1946, every district had an African Welfare Association started by Mr. Donald Sward. And then he approached the Reverend David Kaunda, the father to Kenneth Kaunda, who was a reverend at the mission. Again, the church. You see, we are going to the church again. He was a reverend. The church played the role to free this country. So you can't water down the role of the church in Zambia. You can't do that. It's
May
wrong.
I ask this, President, as we come to wrap up,
Yes.
the fight against corruption, back to corruption, the people out there seem to perceive this like a targeted fight.
It is
Whoever was connected to
President
Edgar or to PF must be targeted, bring this, bring that. I want to ask a question. Are there no other people that can come together? And again, I must concur with you.
Yes.
Whoever stole must face the law.
Yes.
Whoever did what must face the law. But when you are fighting corruption, is corruption just with the high names and all this?
No.
Are there no corruption? Kwatisabi,
Yes.
ati fima sharks fefia ba corrupt. Nga brimu na kapenda.
Nakapenda. Nemintesa.
Nishta tuleikatila na tukapenda.
You know, it reminds me of Mr. Simon Mwansaka Pwefwe.
Yeah.
When I was vice president, the government talked about some kind of taxation. So mining companies like went on a go-slow protesting. So Vice President Kapwepo said he was going to address the mines. Security agency said, no, you are not secure. It's very dangerous. I said, I'll go myself. Apparently, they didn't understand what it meant, the new law, the new tax regime. So he went. So now, before arriving, he knew that mining, he had the intel that there are the stones that upon arrival they would stone him. So when he arrived, he went to the motor gate into Zakiri. Where the miners were meeting, they were in a ground. So he went into the households. He went with sweets. So he started giving sweets to children. Now children gathered. The children to miners. So they started going to where the rally was, giving sweets, and children followed. Now miners see people coming, walking with children. Now who to throw a stone? Then he said, Chicha msongota mchumfine. Bushenga mwapange sumba menso ya divi. Kapenta. Ya pale kapenta. Rangu impende ala ikota kapenta ala pita fitari affected. Te ofina tie. Even over kapenta makola pita fe taxation te imwiriko. We have increased taxes for the bigger piece. Oh, wow mioyo. Taxi hapo taba chumfine mchalo dede. So what are we saying? When I'm saying kapenta, mintesa, all these kind of things like that. When I talk about justice.
Corrupt, yeah.
So when it comes to justice, I like one line in the scriptures which says, justice, justice, justice. And that when you are appointing a leader, it should not be someone of many, you're talking about somebody who must own a lot of things and so forth like that. Because like you begin to serve those things. So leadership, it's not just about someone, no, let's get someone with means. No. Kaunda didn't have any companies to sing about it was the wealthiest person in Zambia. Look at what he did. And this entire cabinet. Look at what they did. Kaunda left government with, was it 80,000 kwachas? A little amount of money. Nothing like money offshore. You are president of Zambia, you are minister, you have money offshore. Millions of dollars. And you say you love Zambia. Your partners are outside. You are saying you love Zambia. This is wrong. I think that time has come when we're talking about the fight against corruption, therefore, to get the question passed. Let's stop this selectivity in the application of the law. And we want to urge the international community. Why am I talking about the international community? Zambia is not an island. To open their eyes and see the extent of the road. Because right now, we have white-collar corruption. It's entrenched, where all businesses that succeeded under the previous regime, they are corrupt. That is incorrect. We have said, if you want to fight against corruption, when you have people that we know with issues in your own camp, it is wrong. That is not a fight against corruption. That is persecution. And this may just divide this country further. Mwanawasa's approach didn't work out. Mr. Arabi rose to power. He too targeted a few. It didn't work out. From there, President Sata rose to power. Musokotwani was his finance minister now, was targeted, was also being investigated over the Chinese issues. The moment he died, it died. President Lungu also targeted others, and now President Hakainde Hichilema, who promised that his administration was not going to be vindictive. There shouldn't be a mismatch. There shouldn't be a mismatch between what he says and what he does. Let words match with the actions. There are three levels: the thought, speech, and action. These must coordinate. Anything outside this.
Sometimes, President, sorry, you tend to say, where do these laws come from? Before President Lungu went out,
Yes.
our mother, Chief Mukuni's wife, was going through the courts.
It's very true.
Under the same law, or whatever she did, I don't know.
Yes.
President Lungu
Lost.
loses, our mother, that case is never even heard.
Yes, it's
So
free,
you
free.
tend to say,
They are free, yes.
this law,
Yes.
does it mean that if I'm president or if I will just say President
somebody-
Chishimba will
It
see
isn't correct.
or whatever? Because certain names that we saw then, we are not seeing them now.
Yes.
And
You bury those ones because they are with you. And the pastor, here's what I want to say. Fellow citizens, when we speak, we don't hate anybody. We don't hate President Hakainde Hichilema. We don't hate anybody. We are speaking for Zambia. Pastor, I watched that clip many times. In fact, I shared it with several people. When you spoke, we are talking about cadres. That what you saw when coming, I think at some T-junction, you said that is wrong. You are very angry. Now the anger I'm talking about is only anger. You are guiding the nation. Can you stop this? You are advising the PF. Where are they today? Minister Kampion, when I was talking about the Maizegate scandal, he said, Shimbari Shiru, you can't respond. What happened to me a few weeks ago? Picked. Look at what is going through right now. I spoke about an issue. Amos Chanda from State House responded. Chishimba belongs to the Siwa. Chishimba Mafi. If you are definite, it belongs to the Siwa. You see when?
who said that?
Amos Chanda. Where is Amos Chanda today? You see, I think for once, in Jewish thought, a fool learns from his mistakes. A wise person learns from the mistakes of others. Then you are wise.
From the mistakes of
Others, learn from them. Don't make the same mistakes. Then you are a wise person. So, let us learn from the mistakes of others. Let's not repeat those mistakes. This country needs healing. It's time to unite. Stop harassing businesses. Instead, promote businesses. How many people have you called from AVIC, China Island? Why are you calling Zambian businesses who have made it? Why are you jealous? This bit of jealousy is not good. And the pastor, look, where the tendency where we saw cadres, the party directing the police who to go and arrest. You remember, pastor? Even when I was detained, it was the PF party that went to report to the police that they must be detained. Apparently, President Hakainde Hichilema was also in prison. 2 weeks later, I was also picked. 7 days, 7 nights. After the PF went to the police to tell them, arrest Chishimba. And I was picked. For simply calling the nation to accountability, I said, chalo doesn't belong to the ones at the church. We saw wherever you are, this country is a republic. It's not a private company. It's a republic. It belongs to all. Therefore, you can't run a republic like a company or your farm. No, it is a republic. A republic is a republic. It belongs to all. And every citizen has a share, one share. The president, the cleaner, whoever, one share. So we need to put this at the back of our minds. And also to know that the only permanent kingdom is the kingdom of God.
Of God.
All kingdoms are ephemeral.
They will come and go.
They will come and go.
Political parties
They will come and go. They will come and go.
Mm.
Let us learn. And let us be accountable. Justice, justice, nothing else but justice. And justice should not select. Justice should not choose. That because this one is with me, they have let me target that company, we bring it down because they are manufacturing bulbs or they're manufacturing Jewish says, let's push them out of business, or they have a big company.
So that I can bring
my own people. This is wrong. We all belong to this country. Grow the economy. Like we said, you can't increase the interest rates. At the same time, you increase the costs of electricity and fuel in 2022, as we will see, and you expect the economy to grow. This is a joke. There is no country without subsidies. You go to America, you go to UK, all nations, they have companies that are important, that are SOEs, and they also have what is called, Pastor, export subsidies. What do? If they want to export finished products, they have companies locally to produce, to export. They give them a subsidy. So now what is the whole idea? They want to increase the volume of trade, of exports, so that when other countries buy, when the volume increases, the state benefits. Because when more goods are being, by the way, taken outside of our pastor, what happens is that there will be an increase in production locally, and more people are going to be employed. So if you are talking about creating jobs, it is a joke to say, which are employed 30,000 teachers, even if you send 100,000 nurses and what, you are joking. What we need to do is to let those don't be just of business people, the rich people. You tell a cadre, please, call the TV cameras, 20 of them. Let this cadre speak. A cadre goes to speak, a youth. Begging for mercy. And these young people, poverty, don't celebrate poverty. You are talking about a rich man. Go and arrest that rich man, is corrupt. A cadre, and then now from there say, now ACC, because you understand, go and pick that man, go and arrest him. He's corrupt.
In the meantime, he doesn't even understand
you
the
don't even
principles
understand.
of economics.
No, this person has stolen. How can a businessman steal from the government? This businessman is not a controlling officer. The businessman he was not there when the tender committee was sitting. He's outside the tender committee. He was just invited.
Company, Chinese.
Chinese. You go to Zambia.
Taking the company.
When you buy an aeroplane, what is an aeroplane? You buy a helicopter. Is that the reason to? And when I'm saying this, Pastor, I'm not justifying anything. All I'm saying is, let us not be jealousy. If someone succeeds genuinely, there are people who built businesses. From selling a phone, from selling water, they have grown into big businesses.
In Nigeria, President, I said to my daughter, we landed at Abuja airport. Abuja, when you land and you are going out, you see on the left, they are private jets like our present jet. I'm a Gulfstream.
Correct.
I'm a Challengers. And I said, who are the owners of that person here in Nigeria? And there were more than 50. No.
Pastor, it was in 2010 when I got to first. I went to Abuja. I was with my wife. So we arrived. We missed the aeroplane to go to. We missed an aeroplane, but we were coming from Kafanchan State. Kafanchan. So I was supposed Plateau State, I think. Kaduna State. So I was supposed to go to catch the second airline in Abuja. So we missed the flight. So I was supposed to then you notice that there was another ET airline in the evening in Lagos. So I had to get a domestic flight. Pastor, so let's buy a ticket. At which ticket? Domestic flights, what taxi? And there
are a lot of people
flying in Nigeria is not a luxury. It's a common, ordinary transport to fly.
And you have over 3,000 business people who own jets.
And there was a case, by the way, of this son of one of the wealthiest men one of the wealthy people in Nigeria. he arrived in London. He had $1 million cash. This is a true story I'm talking about. So now the agencies there in the bags. Money. He was detained. So what is my? He said it's pocket money. $1 million, that's pocket money. Said, so they started calling the Nigerian authorities. At which they Sunday, what's the name of the? No, this they named this name. They said, oh, it threw his pocket money. From the father, his pocket money.
I'm telling you, Mr. President, I know we have gone beyond the time. I can only thank you. What is your word? In 2 minutes, look in that camera.
Yes.
How do we build this unity and the economy?
Correct.
What must we do in 2 minutes?
In 2 minutes, to build the economy, 1, lower interest rates. Let the cost of money be lower, the cost of borrowing the money. Then, let us understand that the financial sector is in foreign hands. We killed our own banks, like Finance Bank. We have Invest Trust right now, which is not being promoted. We need to take control of the financial sector. 80% of banks are foreign owned in Zambia. So we are putting, therefore, this capital in foreign hands. So the majority of the poor people are surviving through microfinancial institutions, MFIs, others through CHISHIMBA. So it's about the time that the government, and this is policy I'm talking about, by the way, that we propose that it's time to come up with a law to promote microbanks, where we promote all these MFIs to become microbanks to lower the minimum capital so that they can be more regulated, of course, to be helped, to be supported, so that the poor people can bank through these microbanks, what is called village banking. This concept transformed Asia, the Asian tigers, including Singapore. Because once you make the cost of borrowing cheaper, the cost of money cheaper, more will borrow. But more so, this country has reached a stage where taxes must be lowered, some of them scrapped off like pay as you earn. Let the Zambian worker go with that money. That money won't be pocketed when you say no, but they won't spend the money. No. That worker will get on a minibus, they will pay, there's tax when they pay the fares. That worker rents, there is payment. If you have built your own house, you are still paying rates to the council. So there must only be one form of taxation, and that is at count level, at council level. And when they deduct 5 or 10% from your pay at count level, it's for services. You are not going to pay for garbage collection when you have paid service fees to the council. This concept, this idea of double taxing the people of Zambia will come to an end under the PP policy. Then, when it comes to fight against corruption, stop selectivity, stop persecution, stop hatred. Don't extend your bitterness to people who build businesses because you are jealous. All you want is to bring your friends. In the name of economic diplomacy, you put friends, you go on trips, you are meeting business partners there, you want them to come, you kill Zambian businesses, you put a front, these ones there to the PF. No. If you want to fight against corruption, let it start from 1991 to date. But most importantly, we must change the systems so that we fight the corruption now, because you are in charge, and this is our prayer. In conclusion, I want to say this, last but not least. Let us remember God. This country belongs to God. That ministry was scrapped off. It's an abomination. The Ministry of Religion, national guidance must come back so that people of all faiths can be supported. Those can be important players in the growth of the economy. Because when you send money to the church, you fund churches through the Department of Religion. Because that ministry, by the way, should not be in charge of implementing programs. It's there for policy. Then let programs be in every district. Like Lusaka here, it must have a Department on Religious Affairs and National Guidance. Each council, then that department, when you finance, when you allocate money, let's say Lusaka district $1 billion, it means that all districts must receive the same amount of money. Finance the church programs, finance the young people. This idea of saying we're increasing CDF, I can assure you, at the end of the day, the youth, by the end of 2022, they'll still be at the same level. It's time for young people to rise to the occasion and liberate this country by ensuring that we usher in a government of ideas, and we the NPP are saying we shall not be bought off. We want you to contribute so that we can build a movement and to reclaim our nationalism. Zambia first, national interest first. And above everything else, the Almighty God at the center of what we do.
Thank you, President Chishimba. It's been, I know that time is not with us. We've gone over and beyond, but it's nice having you here.
Thank you.
And my prayer is that, once again, you politicians, this is not your country alone.
Correct.
It is our country.
Correct.
When you are making laws and you are meeting the people, remember that we are not outsiders, you know, and through you, may all the politicians realize that this is our nation.
Amen.
President Sata is gone, may he so rest in peace. President Chilwa, President Mwanawasa, President, look at what they left. They were at one time in charge of this land, but they are no more. So whatever we do, let's make sure that how will my children, my grandchildren, a neighbor and a poor man benefit 50 years from now.
Correct, yes.
When we start looking at the nation like that, we will develop. Not in the light of tribe, in the light of friendship, in the light of what? Let's look at Zambia as a nation. On behalf of my wife, Pastor Victoria Chiluba, and on behalf of the technical team that labors 24/7 in this station, and on behalf of you, the viewers, Camnet TV viewers, you are just amazing. May the Lord bless this great nation of Zambia. President Chishimba, thank you for coming once again.
I'm grateful.
Keep watching Camnet TV, and remember, Camnet TV is not just another channel. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.